Tinfoil hat. Oh, what the fuck are you guys even talking about?
Global controls will have to be imposed, and a world governing body will be created to enforce them.
Welcome to Tinfoil Hat. We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Are you ready to get your mind blown?
Good morning, Swarm, and welcome to Tinfoil Hat. You know I am. You know I'm here too. Raw. As always, Xavier Guerrero, and on the ones and twos, Jay Nice, Juicy Johnny Woodard, live from the Wise Wolf Gold and Silver adjacent studios. That's right. Go to SamTripoli.gold. Use the promo code TINFOIL. Right, it's tinfoil, and join the Wolf Pack and get precious metals sent to your house for as little as $50 a month. It's just that simple. We got a great show for you today. We have author Don Jeffries on today. He's great. If you want to see me live, I have some shows. Go to SamTripoli.com. I'll be in Comedy Chaos next weekend, Skankfest at the end of the month. Then I just added Louisville, Kentucky, the 10th and the 12th. And then at the end of the year, I'll be at Tampa Bay and Connecticut in December. More dates coming up. And yeah, let's get into the interview. All right. He's got a new book out. Very excited about it. It's called American Memory Hole: How the Court Historians Promote Disinformation. Very excited to have him back. I think this is like fourth or fifth time on the show. Always a pleasure to talk to the legend. Please welcome back to Tinfoil Hat, Don Jeffries. How are you, Don?
Oh, Sam, it's always fun to be here. Thanks for having me.
Don, thanks for being here. Greatly appreciated. For those who may not be familiar with your last appearance, can you tell us again a little bit about yourself and where our listeners can find you?
Well, I'm shadow banned most places now, but you try me on Twitter at Jeffries. Substack is the place where I'm allowed to go. We support Substack because it's the last free speech platform we have. You know, they're trying to end free speech, and that's the big one that they have. So that's where I'm the only place I'm being allowed to grow. Everywhere else, you know, they hold down your audience, and that's the idea behind all of it. They don't want these audiences to grow, unless maybe they'll co-opt a few people and they'll promote them as the alternative. But you can do searches for me and find me everywhere. I think last time I was here, we were discussing Masking the Truth, my COVID book, and that was, I call it the most shadow banned book in the world because they just, Barnes and Noble just disappeared the book. It was there and then it's gone. There's no explanation. Twitter got rid. Amazon got rid of the Kindle version. No explanation. Apple Books wanted to charge $999 for it. I mean, they did so many games with that book. It's ridiculous. So it's amazing anybody got it. So my hat's off to those who did.
Don, do you have a website?
Yeah, DonaldJeffries.media. Run by the
DonaldJeffries.media.
Your friend of mine.
All the links below. Donald, I couldn't agree with you more. I too am shadow banned very much. And, you put that, you go, oh, dude, I'm getting shadow banned. You hear all these ridiculous comments from trolls. Oh, you're not shadow banned. You're just not good. Okay, I'll accept that. Yeah, except for when people take my content, put it on their channel, and it explodes. I see it happen all the time. My podcast has its own Instagram that is doing better than my own personal Instagram. This romanticizing of Mark Zuckerberg is annoying. I love the UFC. I love watching MMA. It's one of my favorite sports to watch. The deep throating of Mark Zuckerberg in the MMA circles is annoying. Especially now that it came out that he basically put his finger on the election, which all of it's fake anyways. It's fake and gay. But it's like I feel for you, man. Like I cannot advertise my stand-up dates. I can't advertise them. They won't let me do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
They won't
Yeah.
let me go anywhere. They won't let me. Dude, they got this thing on Facebook. One of my accounts allow me to ads, and then it's like, okay, I want to do this much ad for this long. It goes, you have no money in your account. I go, yeah, because you're supposed to charge my credit card. That's how it goes. Oh, you have no money in your account. Can't help you, and there's no one to talk to at all.
Yeah, that's what they do. They stop you from promoting. So if it's my birthday and I post a stupid picture of me, just standing in front of a birthday cake or something, or at a concert, or so, then I can get hundreds of responses. But if I certainly can't comment on anything politically, and any kind of promotion, like if I try to promote a book, an appearance, a podcast or something, yeah, they shut that down. Nobody sees it. And it's a shame because we know there's not much competition out there. If you look at a lot of these people that are successful, I'm not impressed by them. But if you don't have a level playing field, it's like you're going up against somebody, in a sporting event, and the referees are just going to blow the whistle on you every time you score or something. I mean, that's what they're doing to us. It's not a level playing field.
Yeah, I see that in stand-up comedy too. Like, there's friends of mine who I love, and they're great comics, but the love they're allowed to, the way they're allowed to promote and grow their brand versus what I can do it's just really demoralizing, to be honest with you. It's really sad. And if there was, like, this is the worst part. If there was a rule for everybody, I would respect it. But there's not. Uh so there was a group of guys, three guys on a couch, and they didn't like one of my jokes. They broke it down, and their content is so mid and milk toast and hot garbage. Okay, but they get hundreds of thousands of views because they
Yeah.
lean to the progressive left, and they're allowed to thrive. Whereas me, I get, and it's so funny because you bring up, like, the AI knows that something's political or just a cat video or something like that, right? So
Yeah.
when I put out one of any of my clips from any of my stand up, my comedy, or excuse me, my podcast, I mean, it gets no traction, like
Yeah.
none.
Yeah.
But
And
if
what's
That's what it
funny
somebody
is,
takes my account, takes my video, puts it on their account, it blows up.
with they still try to censor like the bad words, all the trigger words, and for some reason it still gets Sam. Like you'll censor the F bomb, you'll censor the world of Israel, and it still somehow ends up getting shadow banned one way or another. And then, like, yes, he says, I'll post it on the tinfoil hat account, and that shit'll get way more views than his
No,
actual
but
account.
even if you compare, let's say, a female comic to a male comic, what they allow female comics to say in their clips
Mhm.
is way beyond what they allow, especially a white guy, to say in their clip.
Oh
It's
well,
like-
like the other day, Martin Moreno posted a little thirst trap, like with his t-shirt off, trying to be like kind of provocative on Instagram. Got shadow banned, got kicked off. When Instagram's full of girls twerking all day in bikinis, that makes no sense. Why he's considered like a sex object when it was just a dude kind of being, I guess, with sexy. I didn't like it, but it's like, why is he getting kicked off of Instagram for that?
Yeah, they don't have any, and that's what happens when you get in the censorship games. There's no rhyme or reason to. There's inconsistencies everywhere, and that's why obviously there should be no censorship. It's problem solved. I'm a free speech purist. There aren't many of us left. And I told the story. People in my book Crimes and Cover-ups in American Politics, 1776, 1963. I learned, I have our friend Chris Graves does a lot of research for me, and Peter Seacosh. They really helped a lot on this book, but they started helping me back then. And I learned when I was researching that, just looking up Woodrow Wilson's locking up World War I protesters in prison. Uh, you know, they naturally objected to that, petitioned the Supreme Court. Oliver Wendell Holmes, great liberal judge, eugenicist, warmonger, like most of those guys were. Wilson can do this. And he uses his rationale. He's the one who invented the "you can't yell fire in a crowded theater." And that, this was in World War One. Nobody heard of that before. And so that's where that asterisk on the First Amendment came from. And the American people They just collectively shrugged their shoulders. They didn't think, wait a minute, how is objecting to protesting a war? How is that yelling fire in a crowded theater? What are you using a ridiculous analogy like that for? That's where that comes from. The average American has no concept of that. And once you allowed that asterisk to people in the First Amendment, then it paved the way later for hate speech and misinformation and disinformation.
Yes.
All the stuff we have now. And we allow it. Instead, people need to be purists. And don't say I'm not racist or I'm not. You have a right to be racist. It's not illegal. Maybe stupid, but it's not illegal. You have a right to be misogynist. You have a right to be bigoted. You have a right to be wrong. You can be misinformed. Hell, the vast majority of the American people is misinformed about everything. So if you're going to legalize that, you're going to have to throw everyone in prison. But nobody looks at it that like. Instead, they say, well, no, that's not hate speech. Hate speech is thought crime. That's what that means. It's an Orwellian term designed because we're all thought criminals. That's what it is. We're projecting thoughts that we're not supposed to do.
So the left is getting all upset because they want to ban books in children's libraries, okay? In children's libraries, pornography books.
Genderqueer, yeah.
Which when I was growing up, there was kind of this understanding that you don't sexualize children. It's just wrong. You let them grow. And, you have all these people now, they go to therapy for childhood trauma, but because they're on the progressive left, and the progressive left's whole thing is smile while you do evil shit, right? They have no problem with inflicting trauma on the next generation. Because again, the theory of hate is more devastating than real life on the ground, on the streets problems like crime, sexualization of children, all these things that have giant ramifications in their society. So they're losing their mind about banning sexualized books in schools, in libraries for children, not adults, for children. Okay. But yet they have no problem with the censorship of people who have opposite political views of them.
That's right.
They have none, which is, again, in a way, a thought book burning. You're burning a thought. You're not allowing it to be heard. And it's the exact same thing and it just gets to this thing where you just when you allow something to be done against something that you don't like, simply because you don't like it, it will be used against you eventually.
That's right. You can't give them any leeway. You can't give them an inch because what happens is this is a slippery slope. And once the so-called right, the opposition, and it's I started out on the left. When I was a teenager in the mid 1970s, I was working for Mark Lane, the most prominent critic of the Warren Report, for his Citizens Committee of Inquiry as a volunteer. I was, emulating him. I was being a civil libertarian. I was an ACLU card-carrying member because the ACLU back then cared about civil liberties. I was on as far on the left as you could get. The left today is a joke. The left today, back then, they used to want to extend rights to people who didn't have them. They wanted, and they're the ones that were against censorship. Now, back then, you had George Carlin and people like that it was about saying dirty words or sexual stuff, and I was right there with them. We can't censor this, but now you have the left is for all, and back then it was a Catholic League of Decency and so forth was going against, that was promoting censorship. Now you have the exact thing is flipped completely 180 degrees, where you have the left. Their entire game now is to get people in trouble for saying something. They want to cancel you. They want to get you fired. Oh, what did you say? Did you hear what they said? Did you hear what SamTripoli said on his? Their entire thing is to try to catch you and say, hey, what did you hear what he said? What is he? That's racist. That's misogynist. That's anti-Semitic. Whatever. And that's their entire. And they were so different back then. They were the ones. That's why I was attracted to them. And the right is they were the ones that kind of the authoritarians. Now the left is so authoritarian. So you have the New York Times and things like that running articles now about the concept that the Bill of Rights goes too far. You have a recent poll that says 53% of Americans think the First Amendment goes too far. So we're outnumbered. Their propaganda has succeeded. The majority of Americans don't like free speech. They don't want it.
Yeah, and it's so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me because they just again, it's like this war being waged by rich kids on middle America. And it's just a bunch of rich kids playing commies who have everything in the world and they just want to destroy their parents' America. That's what they want, which is we're this weird thing, Donald, where we're kind of have this like weird hybrid between the Chinese Cultural Revolution and the Russian Bolshevik Revolution, where we have the Cultural Revolution of China, where all the rich kids, all the children went after the adults and told them they had bad think. And then you have these foreign invaders. Then then in the Bolsheviks, they all pretended that they were Russians. Here, they're not even pretending, but they are. They're all just coming in through these porous borders, and we're seeing chaos go. Now, this weird thing that's happening in these apartment complex, we're hearing different stories now, boots on the ground. It's not what we're being told about, the gangs. It's about a shitty ass landlord that wouldn't clean up his stuff. But this fits into this kind of like sorcery of manipulation to manifest a kind of immigration war that they kind of want going on, because at the end of the day, they really do want martial law. What's your thoughts on all that?
Some type of war. Did you see that the Hells Angels were on the way there?
Yeah, that's not true at all.
Yeah, no, it's not. It was a lot of more misinformation. The picture was like from a long time ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because how far have we sunk when we got to depend on the Hells Angels? The
Rolling Stones tried to do that. That blew up.
That didn't work that time. But I mean, this is the immigration problem. Is that again? It goes back at least to the 80s, and in American Memory Hall, I talk a little bit more about Reagan's legacy because the right loves Reagan. And I'm trying to show them again. There's no reason to love this guy. He had a chance to do something about the problem in 1986, and instead he got, they said, oh, the Democrats fooled him. The Democrats are always fooling these stupid party people. They fooled Trump. They're I don't know why it's why they call it the stupid party, but they fooled Reagan somehow. And so he signed a terrible law that granted amnesty to millions. And I remember I was working with a lot of immigrants back then as a blue collar worker, and they were all saying how stupid it was. They're all going to be brave. They're going to bring all their family members in, and they did. And nobody blames for that. And at that time, you could have done something about it. And then you had I just wrote Prop 187, which was passed in a very different California in 1994, overwhelmingly passed, which would have done the most logical thing. You don't need a deportation staff. You just say, hey, if you're not here legally, you can't get government benefits. That's for people that are here legally. That's a very simple thing to do. We can't seem to do it, but the citizens want to do it. But what happens, and this goes into what I talk about in American Memory, judicial review, all the way back to the beginning of the country, because nobody listened to Thomas Jefferson at the beginning, and they let the judiciary usurp the other two branches and allow them to interpret the Constitution, which they never intended. Jefferson said, no, this is not what we wanted. And I think I'm the first one since Jefferson to talk about this. But California, 1994, passes a very important proposition, would have solved the problem in their state at least. And the federal judge takes it and says, no, unconstitutional. So again, they overturn the will of the people. And they've done that on marijuana measures and things like that too. That's not what a constitutional republic or a democracy does, where you let some ridiculous unelected judge overturn the will of the people. But this is where we are. And so you come to the point where we are now, where you have a problem that I don't know that you can solve it at this time. I mean, it's the gates have been the flood, and so the thing where the migrants are overtaking the apartment buildings. I don't know. I've heard several stories about it, and you hear like law enforcement's not doing anything about it. I mean, that doesn't make any sense unless you want everything to collapse, and that seems to be what they want to happen. We'll let it go, just like we saw during Black Lives Matters and Antifa in 2020. Let everything burn. I mean, what? What kind of, that's why I have no argument with the anarchists anymore. I have a lot of anarchist supporters, and I used to argue with them a little bit, but I have no argument with them anymore. What authority is there worth respecting? There's nothing worth respecting at all anymore. So as far as I'm concerned, anarchy would not be any worse than what we have.
I agree, man. Guys, we're going to tell you about our friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. That's right, Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. Listen, gold is at an all-time high. It is nothing but bang, bang, pows there. And that's why if you go to SamTripoli.gold, you can get in on this amazing deal. It's called the Wolf Pack. It's monthly precious metals sent to your house for as little as $50 a month. Trust me, because if you're paying attention, you know the de-dollarization is real. Fiat is fake, and you don't want to be left holding the bag when the dollar collapses. Gold and silver have been money through all of recorded history and are an excellent way to protect yourself from inflation and geopolitical turmoil. That's why I trust my friends at Wise Wolf Gold and Silver for all precious metals, all things precious metals. I love it. I am part of the Wolf Pack. Every month I have precious metals sent right to my house, and I love it. See, Wise Wolf Gold and Silver is veteran owned and A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau. No transaction is too big or too small. You can even roll over your 401k or IRA into physical gold and silver. And if you think you can't afford precious metals, think again. With the Wolfpack monthly membership program, you can get gold and silver delivered directly to your door for as little as $50 a month. As little as $50 a month. You can have precious metals. You start loading it up, man. By the end of the year, you'll have a good chunk of precious metals. Dude, it's crazy. You just go to SamTripoli.gold. You can see all the different plans they have. Man, it's like $50. Lone Wolf, Warrior Wolf, $125. Alpha Wolf is $250. And it just keeps going up. Sent to your house. Right there. It's that simple. It's that simple. Easy peasy. Get in, get out, get your gold, get your silver. I love it. I'm doing it. Dude, I'm telling you, all of these affiliates I use, and I use Wise Wolf Gold and Silver. I use it all the time. It's real simple. So if you want to get in, this is how you do it. Wise Wolf Gold and Silver also deals in and accepts Bitcoin. So here's what I need you to do. Okay, go to SamTripoli.gold, promo code tinfoil at checkout to receive free constitutional silver. That's right. And remember, in a world of bulls and bears, be the wolf. Hey guys, real quick, I want to give a shout out and some love to America's #1 fucking company in the history of time, and that's our good friends at Blue Chew. That's right, Blue Chew. American boners for American men, for anybody who wants to get some, okay? That's as simple as it is. Blue Chew works? How do I know? Are you asking, does Blue Chew work? If you're asking the question, we want you to know that Blue Chew is putting their money where their mouth is by giving you a month free of boners. How amazing is that? Blue Chew is an online service that delivers the same active ingredient as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but for a fraction of the cost in a chewable form. The process is simple. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, and prepared and shipped directly to your door. The best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever the opportunity arrives. Listen, it's a real simple mission statement. Blue Chew wants every man rock hard. They told me this. That's their mission. They will not stop until every man is bricked up like a brick. Every tennis pitch, till every rod is raised. Discover your options at BlueChew.com. Okay, so listen, we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use the promo code tinfoil at checkout. Just pay $5 shipping. That's BlueChew.com. Promo code tinfoil to receive your first month free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring this podcast. And again, it goes back to G. Edgar Griffin's doc called The Capitalist Conspiracy. He breaks it down. Pressure from above, pressure from below, in order to have us beg for martial law, which will be basically throwing out of our Constitution and a whole new system being thrown in. And once they seize power, they never give it back, ever. I'm pretty sure that California still has COVID protocols in place, which supersede any kind of rights we have. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. And then you just start seeing the slow implementation of these kind of like political activist judges in positions to allow things to pass that shouldn't be passed. And once you set a standard or a precedence, now you're in deep trouble, because now that precedence can be used over and over and over again to again start to chip away at our civil rights.
No, and that's why, in this book, which is basically the third volume of Hidden History that I've written, Skyhorse for some reason doesn't like me to use numbers, so this is basically Hidden History 3. But when you look at it, the past is prologue, like Shakespeare said. The Bible said nothing new under the sun, and you can see we didn't get where we are today by accident. We got there, if you look back in history and watch all these things, because over and over again, our leaders chose the wrong path. Now, do they do it just because they were stupid or wrongheaded, or it's because they have an Illuminati or something over them that's directing them and making them take that wrong path over and over again? But you mentioned precedents. That's very important. That's why I write so much about Lincoln. Lincoln, it says something about your society when the greatest tyrant we've ever had, there's not even any competition. He was the greatest despot we ever had, is considered the secular saint of your civilization. And that's where we are now. So if you look at all the precedents Lincoln set, if, let's say, for instance, the January 6th people, and I've had so many people on my show, I had Ashley Babbitt's mom on a couple of times, it's pathetic what's happening to these people. They've been denied all due process, given draconian sentences when they go to court. If you had an ACLU today was like it was when I was, card-carrying member, they would be outside the courts. They'd be petitioning the court saying, this is absurd. It's a violation of their civil liberties. You can't have this, denied all due process. You'd have people like Mark Lane that were those kinds of lawyers that would be working on these cases. But you don't have that anymore. If you did, the government would simply cite Abraham Lincoln. They say, wait a minute, this is the Abraham Lincoln had an insurrection and Joe Biden had an insurrection. So they dealt with the same way. He set the precedent. Lincoln suspended the writ of habeas corpus. He threw thousands and thousands of people in jail. We don't even know how many he threw in jail, including, this is a story from American history people all know, one of the people we threw in jail was Frank Key Howard, who is Francis Scott Key's grandson. And he put him, I think he did it on purpose to make a psychological point, put him in Fort McHenry, the exact same fort where his grandfather wrote the Star-Spangled Banner as he's looking out the window. And he put that guy in there as a political prisoner. How many Americans how many people you think know that? They don't know. That's why I try to write these to try to illuminate people. You don't know anything about your history. This is hidden history, and that's your hero. Lincoln shut down over 200 newspapers. He was arresting people in church. He arrested a congressman, Clement Vallandigham, in the middle of the night, 3 a.m. The Union troops busted into his home. This is a congressman, and took him off. And the guy wasn't a Confederate. He was opposed to Lincoln's war. And there was the people in the North were saying, there's a better way to do this. Why are, you're going to kill, and they did almost kill almost 1 million people. This is senseless. We don't want this war. Plus, you've suspended the writ of habeas corpus. You've shut down 200 newspapers. And when you make that guy, he's in the Republican Party, loves him today. I try to tell them that you make that guy the secular saint of your civilization. That says a lot about your civilization. And again, you look at people think of him. I hear so many conservatives say, "Well, yeah, Washington, Jefferson, Lincoln." No, it's like an IQ test. What in there doesn't match? Lincoln hated the founding fathers. He really hated Thomas Jefferson. I've got lots of, and then Thomas Jefferson would have hated him. So he did not come to continue that. He overturned the revolution. Before the Civil War, the United States was always referred to in a plural. So the United States are. After the Civil War, it's been singular ever since. The United States is, because And that's a tremendous transformation. And again, people, they don't realize what happened. Not only did almost 1 million people die over that, but this was so much was lost, and the country has never been the same. He created the first imperial presidency. He set all these precedents, and so now you have, to this day, you had even George W. Bush, his lawyer John Yoo, cited Lincoln's precedent to justify the torture of prisoners at Abu Ghraib. So, I mean, that's he's still poisoning the well all these years later. So I keep going back to him because I think, people need to understand how wrong they are about Lincoln. And this is the last guy you should be worshiping.
So we shouldn't be mad that they suddenly made him gay. We should actually be happy about it.
Well, I don't think, well, and he probably was. In Crimes and Cover-Ups, I published, there was an article. His law partner was William Herndon, and William Herndon's the one that blew the whistle on a lot of stuff, although he's apparently his lover. But he's the one that said that Lincoln hated Thomas Jefferson so much, and we knew he did, but because everything about him contradicted Jefferson's vision. But Herndon's family, to this day, they celebrate the fact that their ancestor was the lover of Abraham Lincoln. What? So I mean, and they openly say, yes, it's family lore, So and Lincoln was a flaming atheist too. Lincoln was, in his youth, the rumor is he felt so strongly against Christ that he wrote a rebuttal to the New Testament. And his friends, when he entered politics, they were concerned, Abe, this is going to destroy your career. Back then, we were still a God-fearing nation, so they burned it, supposedly. But he never let go of that. And if you look at what he did, he not only didn't care about slavery. He mentioned slavery in his inaugural address a couple times, and he said, "Hey, if I could free the Union, that's freeing a single slave, I'd do it." So that right there tells you the man waging the war wasn't fighting to free slaves. And then a couple years into it, he decides, well, I'm going to start invoking God. So then he starts blaming God for the war and say this is God's wrath because of slavery, and invoking the Almighty when he didn't even believe in him. So I don't mean to get too worked up about Lincoln, but he's not my favorite historical
mind-blowing, dude.
Yeah.
Ryan Dawson came on a while ago and told us that, Lincoln isn't who we thought he is. And I'm just starting to realize that, all my heroes are dead. And not that, Lincoln was a hero of mine, but, he's always portrayed as this guy who fought slavery. And then you realize, man, that's so crazy. And then there's a family out there that they're claiming the fame is that their ancestor banged Lincoln. That's so nuts to me.
And in American Memory Hole, I have the Lincoln was a corporate lawyer. He, my boy Huey Long, that's my hero. Huey Long was famous for saying, I will never take a case against a poor man. Lincoln never took a case for a poor man. He always represented the railroads or corporate interests. Do you know, in this book, I talked about the case where Lincoln represented a slave owner against his runaway slave. Lincoln didn't represent the runaway slave. He represented the slave owner. This is the great emancipator. His record, it's even his name, Honest Abe. The reason they called him Honest Abe was the same reason you called a bald guy Curly or a fat guy Slim.
No.
Because it was indicative. It was so dishonest that his political opponents called him Honest Abe. People don't know this. They think, oh, this guy's great. He's walking around. He set so many horrible precedents. And then later, of course, it was built on by Wilson and FDR and down from there. But we talk in this books again. Chris Graves and Peter Seacosh helped so much with this. But we found out that FDR invented cancel culture in the 1930s. We give examples how back then, before social media, FDR was getting his critics before World War II. He was getting his critics fired from radio stations and newspapers and magazines. That was the media of the day. He had Hollywood in his hip pocket. And then later we find out, people hear about they know that they incarcerated the Japanese Americans in concentration camps. Right. And exactly. Well, it wasn't just that Japanese. They also incarcerated German Americans and Italian Americans, but because they're white, Nobody cares, and they never got any reparations. And in this book, we show how the German Americans alone had, I think it was, I forget how many billions of dollars worth of businesses and properties stole from the United States, kind of an asset forfeiture thing early on. They just took, they did that to all the people they threw in the concentration camps. They took their houses, they took their businesses, and they never gave them back.
Oh, the Japanese, but they did to the Germans too.
The Italians.
Yes, and Italians, all three, because we're at war with you guys. We're at war with Italy and Germany. We can't, we can't tell one crowd from another. This is the philosophy at the time.
So there's a book out there called Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler.
Yes,
and they're very, very, very lines. It just illustrates with receipts the connection FDR and Hitler had. They both, like, FDR's best friend was like a confidant of Hitler, and they were connected.
Yeah, you're talking about Professor Anthony Sutton. He wrote Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, and I quote a lot from this book in his book Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. He also wrote Wall Street and FDR, but Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. Again, we detail on how American capitalism financed and was behind the Bolshevik Revolution. They had some of the biggest bankers and corporate leaders. They were over there cheerleading on the revolution. They were there, witnessing it. They were rooting so hard for their supposed enemies. This is all a show, and people don't know it. They think that, and it was not an uprising. There were so few Germans. The leader Trotsky, the Russian leader, his real name was Lev Bronstein. He was from the Bronx, New York. They ended up with an ice pick in his head later. But these are the people that, and I think it's, is it Lenin? Stalin's, I think it's Stalin's granddaughter or something, is still alive today. And I have in the book, and I'd forgotten it, but she's some kind of an official somewhere. And she's as messed up as you would expect a granddaughter of, a totalitarian, bloodthirsty tyrant like that to be. But hey, she's welcome in our government. I don't know. Maybe Hitler's great granddaughter would be welcome if she was around. I don't know. But this is, these guys are all connected. They really are. You got it exactly right, Sam, when you said these people. And, Hitler was whisked away to Argentina after the war. That's all the evidence shows that. And they know that. And they basically, he was the designated loser. He was supposed to be the guy and that lost, and he played his role well. And I don't know why, because I do talk freely about Jews, but I think I'm pretty fair about it. But a lot of the people that support me, they're just obsessed with Jews. So I got a lot of Hitler fans. I got a lot of Hitler fans.
I can't stand these guys.
No, they love Hitler. So I kind of joke around with them and try to say, "Oh, that's your boy," and everything.
That's
and
your boy. It's your boy Hitler.
Crazy.
That's your boy Hitler. But the problem is we've been lied to. But that's why I try to say I don't try to evaluate any of these foreign leaders at all, because I don't think it's possible, because we have to look at it through the lens of our intelligence agencies, our dishonest state-controlled press, our court historians, which are the people I'm criticizing in this book, because the average court historian, they wouldn't pay any attention to me, because they would, and they can't answer everything I have is documented. So they would just ridicule me if they paid attention to me at all. But they're wrong on everything. But this is what they're propping up, this false narrative. It's kind of an overall narrative. And that's why even with the American people as dumbed down as they are, I think that's why they related so much to Trump's fake news thing, because it's kind of a blanket condemnation, because everybody knows they're being lied to. So when you talk about Hitler or the Holocaust or down to Fidel Castro and Saddam Hussein, any of these boogeymen, I don't know what to believe. I'm not trusting anything they say. I don't know. I don't think any of those guys were good, because I think they're all together in on it. But my books, what I show is, look, I don't have to like the Confederates or the Nazis, but that to show you what the good guys did. And that's my point, is we committed atrocities. And the subtext of this book is all the terrible things we did. I couldn't believe the foreign adventurism we had under Wilson. I think he invaded Mexico like 8 times.
What?
Back then. Yes, exactly. And you had I talk about what they did. It's the same kind of atrocity. The Philippines, they did horrible. Haiti, you know, in Haiti, they were invaded Haiti, and FDR, the great liberal who was an actual racist. Most of these guys weren't racist, but FDR definitely was. And FDR, him and his buddy, his cousin, they had a they had a plan in Haiti because he was Assistant Secretary of the Navy then. Chicken Hawk, you know, a World War One, you know, cheerleader, but of course he wasn't going to just like Lindsey Graham. He wasn't going to anywhere near war. But they get there and their plan is they want to build and run a plantation in Haiti, an all black country. This was his fantasy. He had like a plantation fantasy, a fetish, and he, you know, they never got to do it, but and then his cousin made some kind of ridiculous comment about one of the leaders of Haiti and how he's basically Jimmy the Greek type thing about his high thighs and how he must have been bred that. I mean, just ridiculous. And FDR liked the comment so much he was still sharing it with people at toasts and you know informal gatherings a couple decades later. So this is the stuff people don't know. We had a foreign adventurism and you know meddlesome policy even back then in the 1910s and 1920s, and it just you know you can just look at a graph and you can see why we are where we are now, because that stuff happened and most of it wasn't even reported. It takes deep research to even find that this stuff was even going on, and not to mention the things that we were doing in these places. Because if you look at it's the same kind of things that we saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. You know, they weren't playing soccer with decapitated heads like our troops did in, you know, Iraq and Afghanistan, but it was the same kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, you know, targeting civilians, raping constantly, and they had a huge grift going on in terms of stealing. And again, that goes back to General Sherman in the Civil War, where they had, you know, I published that in Crimes and Cover-Ups, when I published a letter from a Union soldier, a guy named Lieutenant Myers. Best evidence you could get. Court historians would ignore it, but he's bragging about how much you know jewelry and property they've stolen on their march to the sea, and but he's complaining because he's saying, General Sherman, he has to take a cut of everything, so he's got enough gold and silver to open up his own bank. So that's great evidence because he doesn't have an axe to grind. He's just kind of bitching about why does he have to take a cut of it, but he's fine with them stealing everything. But that established a precedent. It goes all the way to World War I, World War II. I talked in my book about how, you know, they would send home, you know, skulls of Japanese to their family members, you know, as a trophy, that kind of stuff. And the widespread theft has always been kind of an undercurrent with our troops. And that's why I say I don't know. The other side was probably doing bad stuff too, but whatever they were doing, all I'm saying is we weren't if you're proud of doing that stuff, you're proud of targeting civilians and, you know, raping kids, raping women, burning homes, destroying crops. That's the kind of stuff we've done. I'm sorry, I can't support those troops.
And Sherman also has some of the worst quotes you'll ever see about black people. The black people in their trains that were behind them that were just looking for direction because, you know, they were just liberated off of these plantations with nowhere to live, no resources at all. And he's got some of the worst quotes about just the kind of people they are. You know, he describes them as like vermin, you know, just parasites on his army as he's going through the countryside. Yeah, that guy had no love in his heart for he was a pure soldier of fortune, you know, just there for his own glory.
In fact, when some of the blacks, some of them tried to follow him on his march, he had his troops burn the bridges. Yeah. So they couldn't follow them. So he was so. But again,
he tricked like deceit. He used active deceit and then burned the bridges and trapped them there on the other side.
Yeah. So this is it's why, you know, again, we just Americans, you know, that's why the subtitle of the book is, you know, how the court historians promote disinformation, and they do. And if Thomas Jefferson said at the time that, you know, the people that didn't read newspapers were better informed than the people that did. Because there were so many lies, you know, it's better to be uninformed than misinformed, I guess. That's the way it is. The people that don't read conventional history books know more about history than those that do, because they're just reading. I mean, just from, you know, they're still telling you Oswald killed JFK, 19 crazed Arabs box cutters and plastic knives did 9/11.
Yeah.
You know, these are the same people. Why are you going to believe them about anything? You're lying about everything. You won't even allow John Wilkes Booth's family. I was in contact with John Wilkes Booth's great grandniece or something until she canceled me. I think probably over Trump or COVID. I don't know. But she was one of the people that I noticed, hey, God, I'm not friends with her anymore. But until then, you know, I talked to her, but her family had been trying to get his body exhumed because there's a question that was the real John Wilkes Booth that died in Garrett's farm. Okay, well, usually when you exhume a body, it's the family that determines that. If they want to do it, sure, go ahead, go for it. Not in this case, because it could solve a historical mystery, and so the National Park Service blocks it. That's how committed they are to these lies. If that wasn't John Wilkes Booth's body, what would that mean today? Americans would just shrug. They probably know who the hell John Wilkes Booth is, and most Americans. So it wouldn't mean anything, but they're so committed to the lies. And I'll give you better than that. Meriwether Lewis, you go back to, you're talking about over 200 years ago, the Lewis and Clark expedition. His family, again, I talked to his great grandnephew or something. They've been trying to get his body exhumed too. National Park Service blocking it because they believe he was murdered instead of killing himself. Now, if he was murdered, that would have no ramifications on the politics of today.
Yeah,
but they're
so interesting.
Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, I want to tell you about one of my favorite sponsors, and that's Helix Sleep. Okay, Helix Sleep mattresses are the best in the business. I go on the road all the time. I sleep on other mattresses. They suck. Okay, I can't wait to get home so I can get on my Helix Sleep and get my proper sleep on. And it's real simple. You want a better mattress? You just got to go Helix Sleep and take their Helix Sleep quiz. I did it, and I took the Helix Sleep quiz, and I matched with the Helix Midnight Lux mattress, okay? And I like it soft, and I like to sleep on my side. That's how I do it, okay? I love it. It's really simple, okay? Unlike other brands, Helix mattresses do not contain fiberglass, which can cause harm to your health, okay? Not only is Helix Sleep mattresses the best I've ever slept on, but the setup was fast and easy. Helix mattresses are delivered in a box straight to your door for free. Plus, Helix mattresses all come with a 10 to 15-year warranty, depending on the model. Don't want to take my word for it? Helix has been awarded the #1 mattress picked by GQ and Wired magazine. It is even recommended by multiple leading chiropractors and doctors of sleep medicine as the go-to solution for improving your sleep. So here's what we need you to do. Helix is offering 25% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. Go to helixsleep.com/tinfoil. That's helixsleep.com/tinfoil. This is their best offer yet, and it won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. So that's Helix, HELIX, sleep.com/tinfoil. Everybody here has a Helix sleep mattress. We all sleep better. Look how good looking we are. Look how healthy we feel. We never seem tired, and that's because of Helix Sleep. We thank Helix Sleep Mattresses for sponsoring this show. And real quick, before we get back at it, if you go to SamTripoli.com, click events, you can see me live. Again, going to be at the Comedy Store tonight for the Comedy Chaos. Then I'm going to be at Skankfest at the end of the month in Las Vegas. Then I'm in Louisville, Kentucky on the 11th and 12th of October. And then I got something at the end of in December at Side Splitters on the 6th. And then Cancun, Mexico for Jiu-Jitsu Overdose. Anything for you guys?
Hit that like button, subscribe, and go to Extreme Marks the Spot on YouTube, please.
Come check me out on Twitter. Come check me out on Twitter at Johnny Woodard. Love to hang out with you guys.
All right, let's get back to it. The Wilkes Booth thing. What is the theory behind that it could be a different body? What would the ramifications of that be?
Well, there's a guy named Finis L. Bates, who, by the way, is a direct ancestor of Kathy Bates, the actress.
Of
Finis
course.
L. Bates, yeah. He wrote a book that talked about the escape and death of John Wilkes Booth. And they even had a mummy that toured the country for a while that was, claimed it was a John Wilkes Booth mummy. But the idea was that he escaped and they used a double, I think it was Captain William Boyd or something. He was the one that was shot in the barn. And for whatever reason, they let Booth escape, and then I don't really know why, but they his physician originally, when he went on and viewed the corpse on board the ship that he was on, said that body bears no resemblance to John Wilkes Booth. And eventually he came around and said that it was him, but lots of doubt about it. And again, it's an easy way to solve it. Just exhume the body. You can do DNA now. But the fact they won't do it, doesn't that feed the conspiracy theories? I mean, what are you supposed to believe? Why won't you? I mean, if you want to shut these crazy conspiracy theorists up, just go ahead and exhume the body. But for whatever reason, they like to explain things, and that's why I like to use that word court historian, the term court historians, because it comes as a tip of the hat to Professor Harry Elmer Barnes, who was a great historian, and he was like a lot of these guys. He was a liberal in good standing in the 1920s. He wrote for the Nation, all the established, periodicals of the day. But he made the mistake of analyzing World War I and saying, damn, I mean, all these millions of people died, and I can't figure out why. There's really like no reason at all for World War I. Why did these millions of people die? It was a senseless slaughter, and because of that, they drummed him out of the community. He was cancel culture, couldn't get a job anywhere else. And he ended up his days as a revision, speaking to a revisionist historical conferences because nobody else would talk to him. But so he's the one that invented the term court historian. So I always use it in honor of him because he was one of the many victims of that, where he just, later we saw somebody like John Toland, who won a Pulitzer Prize for his biography on Hitler. He was a court historian in good standing, but he made the mistake of writing Infamy in the early 1980s, which was the first book to show conclusively, meticulously researched, that FDR knew in advance about Pearl Harbor. So what happened? Drummed out of the community. Barbara
Unbelievable, dude.
They called him a Nazi, which makes no sense at all. He wasn't writing at all about Germany. He was saying FDR knew about Pearl Harbor, but they still called him a Nazi. And again, he wound up his days speaking to revisionist historical conferences because nobody else would talk to him. So that's what happens. Thank goodness now we have an alternative media. Those guys didn't have an alternative. They, back then, Harry Elmer Barnes, John Toland, they didn't have podcasts like yours. They could come on, or they would have been guests. But back then they just they don't have a job anymore. And we have to go talk to the Holocaust deniers. That's the only people that would talk to them. And it's very sad because it's I just laugh about it because tell me what my theory is. What's my anything in there that is it a theory that Muhammad Atta's passport floated down on top of obliterated metal and steel and 9/11? That's not a theory. They tell you that.
So
explain it.
What was your theory on what? What was your theory, Don, on why World War I was started? What do you think the actual reason was?
Well, all I know is what they tell you. Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated, and somehow that precipitated a war where millions of people. And we had to get involved, and people like Eugene Debs, the great social people like that, protested, were thrown into jail, and as I said, the First Amendment became abridged. Because they can't really give a reason. I mean, when push comes to shove, if you debate one of these guys with it, they pretty much acknowledge, they'll come up with some gobbledygook, but there was no reason at all. And World War I was so important and it was really the first globalist venture. So whatever globalists were back then, whatever you want to call the people that run things, they pushed this thing for a reason. And World War I ensured that there would be a World War II because of the Treaty of Versailles. I explained how after the war, it really is the first time in history where the victors decided, hey, you know what, we're gonna find the losers.
Yeah,
we're gonna make you guys pay.
Yeah.
So most people don't realize that after the war, they fined the hell out of Germany. Most Americans don't realize Germany did not stop paying reparations to the Allied nations for World War I until 2010. Now let that sink in for a minute. They paid reparations from. Go ahead.
No, I couldn't believe what you just said.
Yeah,
no, and that's
why I get into. Go on. Sorry. Sorry, Don.
No, that's no. It's so. And once they did the Treaty of Versailles, what they did, and again, I'm not defending Hitler. I'm just telling you that on the surface, what they did is they took away provinces that were German. They took land from them, and they find him. So when Hitler, if Hitler had died in like 1938, he would have been considered probably Germany's greatest leader. This is crazy. And because Germany had a worse depression than we did in the Great Depression. Germany was devastated. And he took them from the ashes. He built the Autobahn, he built the infrastructure up, and he got everybody a Heil Hitler, and they're all on board the same thing. And he did look around and blame the Jews for the media. And again, that's why if you look around today, would the situation be ripe for that? It's but he was pointing out that Germany in the 1920s, Berlin had a media that to some extent is like ours in terms of movies, and they were pushing the envelope constantly, in terms of sexuality and kind of things that were offensive to Christians back then. So Hitler played on that. And as you know, with the Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, he wasn't. I try to tell the lovers of Hitler, now this guy wasn't just some guy that got up on a table in a beer hall and just it took the country over by storm. Somebody was like, it's like AOC. You don't become a waitress and then go to Congress. That doesn't.
She owned the bar, by the way. So everyone tries to act like she just worked there. She owned the bar.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I didn't know that. Really? Okay, but even as a bar owner, somebody has to back somebody like that. You don't get to. Her own brother said she auditioned for it. That's what I've been trying to get that guy. You can't find him anywhere because I don't know. He probably wouldn't say it now, but that's what he said originally. Oh yeah, she auditioned for the role. They were casting a member of Congress, but once he did that, he was able to tell them, hey, look what they did to us. They find us. They devastated the economy, and of course the Germans responded to that because they knew that had happened. But by that Treaty of Versailles, they guaranteed that that Germany would probably eventually revolt against that and say, hey, this is unfair, and try to take that land back and try to Hitler, of course, because he was controlled, he obviously went beyond that, and we know what happened in terms of the rest of the war. But people, and then my book Crimes and Cover-Ups, I talk about the trials of Nuremberg. Even today they talk about COVID and everything else. We need a Nuremberg trials. No, that's the last thing we need. Again, that took the concept of finding the losers even farther. That's okay. For the first time in history, we win a war and we're going to put the losers on trial. We're going to legally prosecute them for losing a war. And that's what they did. And not all of them, just some of them.
Selective ones.
Like Toho of Japan, he didn't go on it. He lived on until late 1980s or something. Nobody talks about that. And of course, we know Werner von Braun, he went over and founded NASA under Operation Paperclip. So they were very selective. But the idea that you put people on trial, that's very, and at the time, there were lots of people that opposed that, including F. Kennedy, then Senator John F. Kennedy, the young guy to speak out against it. In his book, Profiles in Courage, again, most people don't know this. One of his profiles in courage was Senator Robert Taft, who was a Republican. And his chapter was about how Taft had the courage to call out the Nuremberg Convention for the farce it was. So, people think JFK was so different than any other Democrat that you can't imagine it. But that's something probably, again, I didn't know until I researched it.
There's a lot to unpack. There's a lot. You've dropped a lot of bombs on us right here, and I find it very interesting. Again, a lot of people don't understand that World War I, we see the establishing of the Bank of International Settlements, which becomes the centralized bank of all the centralized banks, and this bank is extracting wealth out of Germany at an insane number. Just destroying it, and which sets the environment up for somebody like Hitler to come up and rise. Now, again, in the book, Wall Street and the Rise of Hitler, they break down not only all the corporations that were basically treating Hitler like a sugar baby, okay, but they also break down all the American corporations that were like had set up basically boards of German companies. And one of the biggest one is
IG Farben. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And how they had American board on this American board of IG Farben is heads of state Federal Reserves, like the New York State Federal Reserve. I mean, you can't be fighting the bankers while taking all their money at the same time.
No, and that's why, again, it's what happened was after this, and then as soon as World War II ends, you have the Nuremberg trials, and then instantly, again, and the vast majority of Americans don't know this. The Soviets, who had been our allies, Uncle Joe Stalin, one of the biggest murderers of all time, but hey, he's cool. Hitler's bad, but he's cool. He's some mass murders are more equal than others. To quote Orwell.
Yeah.
As soon as the war ends, suddenly, then the Soviets are the enemy. And Winston Churchill, again, drunken war criminal, is a guy that was drunk all the time and just, he wanted nothing but to bomb people nonstop. But he's a hero. Like Lincoln, he's a great hero. You bring the curtain down. Suddenly you have the Cold War. And I talked a lot about the phony Cold War in my book. And that's why and I'm going to go further into Joe McCarthy. And I'm trying to restore his reputation because the guy was a hero. He was not any kind of, and just to tell you how misrepresented he is. The word McCarthyism is, and again, you ask the average American, they're so stupid. And they probably had some kind of dim recognition. Well, it must have been somebody named McCarthy. They don't know who it was, but they figure, well, I guess it was named after somebody named McCarthy. And but they don't know who it was. And the idea was he's like associated with the witch hunt that enveloped Hollywood, the blacklisting of the Hollywood 10 and all that, and people, weren't allowed to work anymore. And all that came from the House Un-American Activities Committee, which was run by a guy named J. Parnell Thomas, who no one's heard of. So if you want to demonize somebody, demonize him. McCarthy was in the Senate. He had nothing to do with anything with Hollywood, getting anybody fired, nothing, absolutely nothing to do. He was a genuine war hero. They called him Tail Gunner Joe. Friend of the Kennedy family. He was the godfather to RFK's oldest child, Kathleen Kennedy. And, again, people don't know this. And he was trying to root out what he thought were Soviets in the army, especially. That's all he was doing. And because of that, the wrath came. And he was also the first so-called conspiracy theorist in public to call out FDR about Pearl Harbor. I found that out while researching this book as well. So he comes off pretty good. And he goes into Bethesda Naval Hospital at age 48 with a knee problem, dead 2 days later.
What?
No autopsy ever done. Instantly smeared as an alcoholic. So again, this is supposedly one of the great demons of the 20th century. Excuse me, you don't do an autopsy on a guy that dies of a knee issue at age 48. So that's what we're looking at. And this, he was buddies with James Forrestal. I talked about him in the previous book. Forrestal was Truman's Secretary of Defense, who was pushed out of a window at Bethesda Naval Hospital a few years before that. He was the fiercest critic of Israel. After he kept saying, Truman, this is idiotic. What have you created here? And he was pushed out of a window, man. And before he died, I use this line all the time. In interviews, he told McCarthy, he said, McCarthy, if there wasn't this giant grand conspiracy, once in a while they'd make a mistake in our favor. That's a great line. If this is all random. Yeah, there would be some good somewhere once in a while, somebody, but it never does because there's nothing random about it.
Yep. 100%. 100% because it's
McCarthy
like
and Forrestal.
Basically, I used to tell Brian Callen that all the time. I'm like, Brian, if there wasn't a conspiracy, why do the people in power always get more power and more money at the end? How come it never goes the opposite way? How come they always get richer and they always get more power? They consolidate power after all these events every time. It never goes against their way. I mean, if you take a look at there were people involved in 9/11 who should have been able to say, hey, this plane's been hijacked, go deal with it. They didn't, and they got promotions.
Yep. Yep. No one was ever, you're right. No one was ever punished over that whatsoever. That's what typically happens. So, and it doesn't matter. The JFK assassination, the Secret Service, nobody says anything. They're not criticized at all, not even remotely criticized. And that's why so many parallels between the Trump shooting, which, by the way, I started commenting like before it was a month old. I kept saying, what happened? Talk about going down the memory hole. What happened to the Trump shooting thing? You had tons of people believe that was fake, but whatever it was, everybody stopped talking about it, including Trump. It's like, wait a minute, this was a shooting of the presidential frontrunner, and the Secret Service obviously stood down, way more obviously than they did with JFK. They literally did nothing when a guy's walking around with a rifle, and all the people are trying to point out to law enforcement, hey, that guy, he's climbing up the wall of the building there with a rifle. It didn't attract their attention at all, and nobody cares. That's the kind of thing I think when you look at that, that's why people don't. So many of us think everything is fake news, because none of their stories make any sense. I mean, I've investigated so many things and researched so much history, and I'm in vain trying to find one significant story or one significant incident that they told the truth about, and I haven't found it yet. I mean, you scratch the surface on everything. Okay, another obvious lie. They literally lie about everything. So when people talk about flat Earth, hollow Earth, computer simulation, I'm open to all of it because, again, they lie about everything. So why, they're going to tell the truth about what exactly? So this, I think that's what people, you got to take it to the, to the logical extreme that these people are liars. They have absolutely no compunction about anything. That's why they're saying, you think they would cause 3,000 people to die in 9/11, or they would do this? Of course. They sacrificed millions of people for absolutely no reason in World War I, and really no reason in World War II either. I mean, that was contrived as well. But I mean, how many millions of people died in the 20th century? And you want to know why the white race is going extinct? Like 90% of the people that died in the 20th century were whites, and these senseless wars that made no sense at all. And but people, they're ready to send their. You look at how many Americans are willing to pony up billions to Ukraine. It's like putting up the stupid Ukraine flag. It's like you try to ask them, well, okay, what is it? So I just wrote about on Substack about threat to democracy, because I'm obviously a huge threat to democracy at this point. We all are. But what does that even mean? So this guy, you're standing with democracy here. Zelensky's like Abraham Lincoln, where he shut down all the newspapers and quashed all the opposition political parties, and just because he can play the piano with his penis, we got to do this. I mean, but Americans are on board with that. Yeah, that's democracy. That's democracy. But free speech isn't democracy. That's where we're at.
It's so nuts to me. It is so nuts how everything's an inversion. And like I've told people, I'm like, a lot of shit that America is going through right now is probably karma for us going in there and committing a genocide on Iraq. I mean, how many people did we kill in the Middle East over a lie? I mean, the number's got to be 4 million people. So when you see people put up like 6 million Jews for Hitler, and then somebody put up 4 million people for Churchill, fine. If you want to go with those numbers, fine. George Bush is right there with 4 million people.
Right. Exactly. And it's again, it's like you keep counting. First of all, again, whatever number they attribute to any foreign leader, I'm skeptical of, because they lie about everything. And this was one of your boogeymen. What H.L. Mencken called foreign hobgoblins. And that's what they are. And that's what they are. So of course you're going to tell me something. And again, maybe they were horrible, but I don't trust you to tell me how many people they killed at all. First of all, you have no way. How would you even know that? You have no way. It's not like there was any documentation that they kept track of it. and they published, okay, we're up to 6 million now. Nobody's going to do that, but they can tell you how many they killed. Okay, well, no, I'm sorry, I don't trust you. You say Oswald did it, so as long as you're saying that, you have to tell the truth about something first before I'm willing to consider anything you're saying about all these other things. But that's and that's where we are. So that's why when you look at that's why these things are so important. There's so many threads going back to history. These things are all connected, and we are where we are because over and over again, the wrong side prevailed. And I mean, you can look at somebody like FDR, as awful as he was. Again, he's considered the second greatest president. In reality, he's the second worst president from my perspective.
Hey, Don,
but
can you power rank your worst presidents? Power rank them. Let's go top 5.
Pretty much, yeah. You pretty much flip flop what the court historians say. Top 5 is definitely Lincoln. Number 1, there's with a bullet. FDR is number 2. Wilson is number 3. And then pretty any modern American, right? Obviously
Obama,
Clinton, George W. Bush, Obama. They would probably round out the top 5. LBJ was pretty awful too, but they've gotten progressively worse. So they're constantly. Like if Kamala Harris gets in there, I'm pretty sure she'll. She has a good chance to make a list too. And Donald Trump is not on there because again, like I tell you, I'm a Trump agnostic, but it's because he doesn't do anything. You can't do anything wrong if you don't do anything. And he's not doing anything bad, so he's kind of a loud Calvin Coolidge. Calvin Coolidge is one of my favorite presidents because he didn't do anything. He couldn't do anything wrong. He just he kept quiet, and it's a hell of a note when that's what you have to try to root for. But unfortunately, these presidents try to do something. JFK was again the only president that I know of that attempted to do some good things. And you saw what happened to him, but he was an anomaly. And if you look at all these guys, you scratch the surface a little bit. And but I would say those would be my worst presidents. But really, there's so few presidents that have been good. I mean, all the early ones were okay, up until, and that's what the thing about Lincoln. The first 15 presidents, with the exception of James K. Polk, and this book we talk about the Mexican-American War, and I was shocked to discover something. I mean, there were some early indications there of the total war strategy that we saw in the Civil War. I mean, they did some horrible things in Mexico, same kind of stuff, going after civilians, raping, stealing, very similar to what we saw. And as much as I hate a group like La Raza that's around today, they've got a point. We did steal a lot of land, so I mean, there's so it goes back to then. So we said Polk was the first president. I think he was maybe the 13th, 14th, something like that. But up until that point, none of the other presidents, whether you agree with them or not, they didn't overstep their constitutional bounds. They all knew what their powers were under the Constitution. Polk did by invading Mexico and causing a war and stealing land was ridiculous. But and then Congressman Abraham Lincoln, ironically, was one of the ones who spoke out against it. And then later, obviously, did something on a far grander scale that was much worse. But Lincoln comes along as the 16th president and just shatters. We've never looked back since Lincoln. I don't know. Like I said, Coolidge didn't do anything, so he wasn't bad. Harding actually wasn't that bad. He didn't do much either. I think he got caught, with scandals from a bunch of his friends. And McKinley got pushed into the Spanish-American War of 1898, which was our first foray really into. It was again a terrible line we crossed in the sand, and he really didn't want to go there. But Teddy Roosevelt, another highly ranked president who would be probably 6 or 7 on my list of worst presidents. And you want a genuine racist? There's your boy. Read some of his quotes. I had him in Crimes and Cover-Ups, and he was the only good Indian is a dead Indian school. He didn't say that, Sheridan did, but they all. He has a lot of racist quotes on the record. They just don't quote him. Because
by the way, Sheridan, there's another guy who was exalted as a Union hero, who was one of the biggest pieces of shit in the history, in the annals of history. I mean, just a total asshole, a murderer on the battlefield and off. I mean, just a really bad guy.
Yeah, and anybody who says the only good Indian is a dead Indian, I mean that was his quote. It's like, okay,
proud. He was proud of it. He was. I mean, one of the funny things about Sheridan is that the people that actually knew him best disliked him quite a lot, it seems like, but he kind of went down as a hero of history because of how belligerent he was.
I guess it's who are you a hero to?
Well,
Right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's because of what he did. I mean, his violence and he was the victor so many times.
Everything
And this
Don is talking about right now,
that's
everything Don is saying right now just reminds me so much of what Israel's doing in Gaza. Like, this seems to be, and maybe it's done on purpose, but this seems to be the first time we're getting a look at a war not through the lens of a corporate media, but from real feet on the ground. And not only that, from the soldiers committing the war crimes, like openly bragging about what they're doing. Because they don't think they're doing anything wrong, because they've been green light to do inhumane shit to other human beings. So, like, when Don talks about all these kind of war, what the U.S. did in Mexico, what the North did to the South, and all that stuff, this is done gleefully. I've said this forever. Like really, like the Israel Palestine stuff is a business transaction cloaked in a religious war, in which they've armed one side and allowed them to commit unholy acts on the other side in order to take more land to create a canal. It's always been about that. In my humble opinion, you go, Sam, what do you really think Israel's about? Is it religious? Oh, sure. It's a very old religious site. Yeah, for sure. But the real reason is to control the trade route, one of the most important trade routes in the world, which is to get the goods from Asia and Africa to Europe. That's one of the most important trade routes out there. Now, if you can control the land, which is going right through Gaza, dude, the amount of money and power that allows you to have now, and it just cripples Egypt. It's going to cripple Egypt if no one's using the Suez Canal, because now Israel has a two-way canal that's just streamlined. It's crazy.
No, and I was going to include, I don't think it got included in the book, but I wanted to include as an appendix a letter that then 22-year-old John F. Kennedy wrote to his father. Again, and I'm trying to restore Joseph Kennedy Sr.'s reputation too. That guy was a genuine American hero. Don't believe the lies, the bootlegger, mafia is all bullshit. Absolutely, all comes from CIA and mafia sources. Joe Kennedy was a patriot. He was a World War I protester, a World War II protester, was one of the first critics of the Federal Reserve, and served in the 1950s on a commission that's never talked about to try to rein in the CIA. And he was the biggest critic of the CIA's in the 1950s. He was a real critic of Israel at the time. And John F. Kennedy, at 22 years old, in this letter, shows such sophistication, such brilliance. Again, I'm a Kennedy fanboy, but it's because of stuff like this. He writes to his letter, his dad, who he clearly loves, and he analyzes the situation, 8 years before Israel was created. He analyzes it beautifully and talks about the problems they're going to resolve if they try to do this, and if they try to create a Zionist state. So he knew it. His father knew it. And, once it was created, people like James Forrestal knew it. And that's why they pushed him out of a window at Bethesda Hospital. It was bound to create. It's amazing that you haven't had more problems because of this. The only reason you haven't had more problems was because you inserted a group of people who were going to be at war with the neighboring people, all the Arabs around them. You just installed them with this and gave them you built them the third most powerful military in the world. They're the size of a postage stamp. But because of us, they're armed to the teeth. And you convinced they're acting in their defense. They stole land. They've gone to the point of denying Palestine ever existed. I've had people argue with me. I'm showing the maps that from the 1920s and the 1910s that have Palestine. Oh, it's fake news. It's like, what? They actually deny these people existed. So you talk about unpersons out of Orwell. You steal their land, claim they don't exist, and the only reason Israel hasn't been obliterated is because of the weapons we gave them. So yeah, they're real big guys. They're armed with these weapons. So you have the poor Palestinian kids throwing rocks at tanks. That's what But it's interesting in the last year or so, and I never thought there would be so much talk about this stuff, and it goes right from there into Jewish influence and how much power they have and everything. So you have something like Candace Owens. I mean, she was a kind of a milquetoast. She's a black woman conservative for a long time. suddenly she is, I mean, she's on the verge of becoming the black female version of David Duke now. I mean, she is really out there, and she's talking about really extreme stuff all the time. And
Are
she's
you
talking
talking
about
Candace
what
Owens?
about all the
Yeah.
yes, Candace Owens. What about all the, and she rightly mentions, what about all the Catholics that were targeted by the Bolsheviks? All the priests and nuns they killed, all the churches they destroyed. That was ethnic. That was for a particular religion. Nobody talks about that. And
It's
and
crazy to me.
probably there were more millions that died that way.
It's crazy to me that she's seen as
Yeah,
this,
no,
like,
and
she's
it's
saying crazy stuff. In reality, most stuff she's saying is correct. The big thing, it's so crazy because now the big thing when she goes, I don't think they're Jews. I think it's something deeper, and
yeah,
and it go and reality, dude. She's totally right, dude. It's Babylonians. Now they're gonna cut this clip
yeah,
and they're gonna run it like, oh, Sam won't name the Jews. I talk about them all the time, dude. My girlfriend's
yeah.
Jewish. I'm really not interested in this broad strokes that go where
Yeah,
like
yeah,
hate
me neither. No,
everybody of this group.
right.
Like my whole dream has always been like we can have open discussions about everyone, right? Like regardless of
Right.
what your ethnic background, your religious background, your sexuality, your gender, whatever it is,
Right.
you do dumb shit, you can get called out. I'm not
Yeah, no,
into this like starting to hate everybody of a whole group because the actions of a few, because I saw that's
no,
what
you
happened to
can't.
white people in 2018 on Twitter around that. Just you could
That's
tee
right.
off on white people for everything. You could actually, it's very interesting because Don, you brought this up a long time ago, and I agree with it, but I didn't like back it up as much as I should when we were talking about the Catholic Church being pedophiles and like all this stuff's coming out now about like Talmud Jews and their view on pedophilia.
Sure. Right.
And you're totally right because now when I go back and I read this thing about I'm reading about Israel and Mossad's role in the assassination of JFK, you hear about
Yeah.
Meyer Lansky and
Yep.
how like Hollywood was instrumental in painting that organized crime was Italian and not Jewish.
Yes, exactly. You're right. And it's like you. I don't like to generalize. That's why I hate so much when they say white people. This you say all white people, and these white people usually saying it. I say, or so are you exempting yourself? You mean all white people but you, your kids? I mean, are you exempting them? But the Jewish question is weird because, like I try to tell people, I don't know what it means to be a Jew. Most of my relatives, I'm not Jewish, but most of my relatives are Jews because, or part Jewish because my mother's sister married a Jewish guy a long time ago, and he converted to Catholicism, and they had 11 kids, and a bunch of them
Yeah.
had 7 kids. So there's tons of these cousins I have that are partially Jewish. None of them are to go to synagogue or anything, but so I don't know what that means. So what are they? I have other partially Jewish relatives. It doesn't. But on the other hand, so I don't want to, and I have people that have been Jewish supporters of mine. I don't condemn an entire group, but you have to acknowledge that Jews are 2% of the population. And they're the president of every television network and the president of every motion picture studio. That's that's impossible to happen without some kind of orchestration. And that's the gist of the problem. That's why you have so many people because they won't acknowledge. Okay, explain it. If you can prove somehow you're superior by virtue of being a Jew, okay, but it doesn't make any sense. There's no way to explain that logically. And so you have people that do turn, genuine haters and everything, and end up idolizing Hitler because of this, because they won't answer the question. And then you have something like our Congress. Okay, if you're upset that people are saying the Jews run things, and what's the thing you shouldn't do? But the last thing you should do is pass a law called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, where you make it illegal to criticize Israel and the Jews.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't that kind of acknowledging that, okay, we do run things and you can't criticize? And then Thomas Massey, the best congressman by far out there, he goes on and gives the most remarkable interview I've ever seen a politician give to Tucker Carlson a couple months ago. If you watch that interview, if you can, I've never heard anybody talk about AIPAC and Israel like he does. He said everybody, all the Republicans but me, have an AIPAC babysitter, and I kicked him out of my office. A week later, his wife suddenly dies.
Yeah.
Still don't know why. 51 years old. We still don't know what happened to her. And he's not backing off. But I mean, look, man, is that a coincidence? Well, I don't know. It's possible, but they haven't given an explanation why. But on top of the the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, I don't even know was it virtue signaling, or are they really going to prosecute some people that, I mean, you can, if you say the Jews have too much power, or if you question why Israel was born, how it was created, and that's the problem.
Dude is
How was it
nuts.
created? Yeah, and so, but there was very little discussion of that Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, passed overwhelmingly. But it sure looked like, if you're an outside observer and you're saying, okay, this is the group that, they have a chip on their shoulder because everybody keeps saying, hey, you guys run things, you're in charge. Okay, we're going to pass a law that says you can't say that.
Yeah.
What's the old expression? If you want to know who's in charge, find out who it is you can't criticize. Well, apparently now it's illegal to do that, and that's frightening because but again, people, so many people don't, and they're afraid. I don't care, and I want somebody to, first of all, like in my Substack, this last Substack, I asked, I said, please, some Democrat, give me your definition of democracy. I gave the definition from the dictionary, how the majority rules, the people rule. Obviously, we don't. That's not happening in America. The majority of the people, 80% of the people, are living paycheck to paycheck, or they're homeless on the street. So, I've written about that in my book, Survival of the Richest. The bottom half of America has nothing, less than 1% of the collective wealth, the bottom 50%. So we don't meet that criteria. So what is it then? Give us your definition, because you're coming out against freedom of speech and all that stuff. So what is your definition? By the same token, Candace Owens, all she wanted Ben Shapiro to do, she wanted to debate him, but she wanted him to define what is anti-Semitism. So tell me what it is. What's your definition for anti-Semitism? They can't do it. Instead, if you're making any kind of inference they don't like, oh, that's anti-Semitic. Just like same thing with racism. Okay, if you're going to say sleep is racist and birds are racist and band-aids, and they've said all that, if you're going to even mean anymore, but so come up with a definition. They can't come up with a definition. They just use it as a pejorative term. If they don't like what you're saying and they want to shut you down, that's racist. That's anti-Semitic.
Listen,
no, it's stupid.
You can't be in positions of power and make decisions, and then those decisions are met with criticism, and then to answer that criticism is to say your family was in the Holocaust. You can't do that.
Yes,
that's not how it works. That's not. You can't go. Hey, this is why you can't criticize me, and on top of that, you're not allowed to discuss this giant event. You can't do both of those. You can't use that as a great shield against criticism, and on top of that, say you can't analyze it and discuss it. It doesn't work like that. And listen, dude, I hate Jews this. I hate Jews this. I hate blacks this. I hate women this. I hate gays this.
Yep.
I hate white people this, Latinos. And we just keep going. I hate these broad strokes. But if you come at me with statistics and you go, this percentage of this is causing doing this, I think you should be able to discuss it. I really do.
Exactly. You have to. And again, by not discussing it, you create real hatred. You create real Jew haters out there. You create real bigoted people that hate blacks. I mean, if you just won't simply acknowledge, okay, it has to. Sure, there are economic reasons for it. We know that poverty creates that, and the media creates this ghetto culture and extols it. Spike Lee and people like that make movies glamorizing it, but blacks commit like 60% of violent crime or something, and they're 12% of the population.
Statistics.
That's a huge disparity. There has to be. You can't not acknowledge that. You can't decide, well, the way I'm going to handle that is every Spider-Man and Batman movie, I'm going to have these white skinhead guys that look like they came out of the 1920s running the mean streets of New York. That's their explanation for it, to try to create a narrative that doesn't exist. And, you have to face reality. Explain that. That doesn't mean every black's bad or anything like that, but it means their culture isn't, whatever that ghetto culture isn't something white people should be mimicking, and they are. They're mimicking it. They're copying that. Okay, you know what? This English thing is racist. What the hell? I'm gonna speak in the stupid pidgin English, and we'll call it ebonics. I'm gonna dislearn something, and that's what we have. They're actually dumbing themselves down. and I'm getting away from my book now, but I criticize the culture a lot as well because it's
No, you're
again
totally
nobody.
right, man. It's like it's just crazy times, and I mean, I whatever you think of Elon Musk, and I don't trust any billionaire as far as I can kick them. Um, but something is happening, whether it is being allowed or it's actually being astroturfed, I don't know. But there seems to be a real discussion going on, and people are waking up to it. Now, a big thing I wanted to talk to you about is this assassination that happens with or Trump. I've never seen in my life so much misinformation instantly out. There were people who normally get it right, getting it wrong. There's still people who I think do amazing work in the space, still covering it like it's 100% a real assassination. Now pictures of Trump's ears coming out looks perfectly fine. Doesn't even look like it had good work on it. Like it doesn't even look like a better ear than or like if you had your ear blown off and you went and got the best doctors, they would give you some fucking $5 million man fucking ear, the $1 million man ear.
I would have told him to take a piece off. I would be walking around right now with like half my ear on. Like, look, it really went down.
Trying to pull pussy. Like, I got shot, survived. What's up, bitches? You know?
No, you're right. You're right. You're there, and you're right. They're because and it's ironic that I had a friend of mine who has never agreed with anything I've ever said. He thinks I'm a complete lunatic, like a lot of my people. A lot of people that know me do in real life. They're like crazy, Don. He's crazier by the minute. Now they're actually publishing his work. What the hell? These guys, they're incensed by it. I'm sure because they've heard me ranting and raving forever. But this guy texts me out of nowhere. Says, "Well, I hope you're going to say something about the fake Trump shooting." Now, of course, he has TDS. He's never thought anything was fake in his life. But now you have Joy Reid, Keith Olbermann, Rosie O'Donnell. They're all coming out and saying it's fake. Now, these are the people that want to send people like me to prison. They want to send Alex Jones to prison for questioning Sandy Hook or the Boston bombing or anything else. Oh, my God, that's crazy. What about the children? But in this case, they hate Trump so much, but they're making a point. Because as you note, I mean, yeah, Trump said his hand was covered with blood and all that. Come on. I mean, a 78-year-old man jumps up like that right away. But so I look at whatever it is. So I'm not going to anger either side because I don't know. But all I know is that they should look into the event. And you start with what were the Secret Service doing? Now you say, okay, Trump, because if Trump was, this was a shenanigan pulled by him, it doesn't appear to have worked. Because he's the only person I know that could get an assassination attempt and fall in the polls, supposedly. How does that work? Sympathy vote at all? I mean, geez. Yeah. But and a part of it is because of him, because people are. But again, the haters, they're analyzing this like they wouldn't analyze anything else. You think if this was Joe Biden getting his ear clipped or something, you'd have the exact same opposite. You had the right wing saying it was fake, and you'd have the left wing saying it's terrible. You should be put in prison for questioning it. But it should be questioned, but. You just simply, again, if you honestly investigate it, same thing with Sandy Hook or anything else. Just investigate it. Look at the Sandy Hook footage and say, okay, well, the helicopters, I'm looking at the helicopter footage and I don't see anything going on really. I mean, I don't see any evacuation. I mean, ask that kind of stuff. Why weren't the EMT people allowed in the schools? Same thing. Look at the Boston bombing footage and okay, what is this guy doing? What is this guy doing here? Why was it announced? Why did they make an announcement saying this was a drill going on? They told the crowd that before. So you just ask those questions. You don't have to say nobody died or anything like that. Same thing with Trump. You have an easy investigative foundation here. You just look at don't fire the director Cheadle, which is what they did. She had, I mean, okay, that's nice, but I doubt very seriously she trained them. Yeah, I don't think she's an awful person. She goes back to Dick Cheney and everything, she's the one that wanted to destroy the evidence when the cocaine was found in the White House. So she's certainly a typical, horrible bureaucrat, but I doubt very seriously that she officially trained the Secret Service agents to not react at all to a guy walking around with a rifle when every witness is pointing it out. So that's what you would do. You would get every agent that was there, all the agents in the Iwo Jima photo, including the DEI hire that's ducking down herself, instead of fighting Trump down. But you would ask them, okay, what's going on here? Is this your training? And you just because there's no explanation. They can't possibly explain it. You see, the guy scaling the side of a building. You're alerted to it, and you don't confront him. You don't take Trump off the stage, and then when they can say, okay, after Trump is shot at, or whatever, he jumps up, and again, you can say that's his personality, and people want to believe Trump's just so bold. I have to say, fight, fight, fight. Okay, even if that's true, the Secret Service's job is to hold him down. Say, no, Mr. President, you can't do that. That's dangerous. You could present, but no, they let him jump up. Nobody's covering. He's like Lee Harvey Oswald. Nobody's covering his front, so there's another shot could easily come in. They don't do that. Their training is to cover him and get him out of there. They didn't do that. So you asked and it's not like any of them did their job. So you ask, okay, what were you thinking here? Okay, well, first of all, why aren't you play the witnesses? That we're talking about. Hey, we tried to tell law enforcement. Say, why weren't you? How did you not see this guy? Isn't that what you're looking for? So that's what a real investigation would be. But I don't think you're going to see that because nobody wants to get to the truth of it, whether it was fake or real or not. And Trump's not talking about it either. He should be making political hay out of it. That Iwo Jima photo should be his campaign photo. I don't see it happening that way. So I don't understand it because I thought when it happened that regardless of whether it was real or staged, that this probably meant, okay, Trump's going to get back in the White House. And then suddenly, then Biden decides to withdraw it was decided for him, it was a silent coup. And they suddenly promote Kamala Harris and suddenly she's surging in the polls. Like, what? None of that makes any sense. So I don't even know how you analyze this stuff. But yeah, you're right. I mean, people should ask. They need to ask questions about the Trump shooting, but the roles have been reversed because you can't really, the Trump supporters, you can't question it too much or they get mad at you. I mean, they're not as bad as the left. They don't want to prosecute you, I don't think, yet for doing it, but the left wants to prosecute you if you question it. Oh, okay, this sounds like a thought crime. I don't know what this is, but they're trusting in it because they think it was an act of God and Trump's a miracle and all that. And he's so courageous, but the left thinks it's a joke and they're openly talking about it. Again, you couldn't go on any television show and question any of these other events and get away with it. They're doing it. Joy Reid, Keith Olbermann, now Rosie O'Donnell, they're all doing it. And because it's Trump, it doesn't matter. So I don't know, man. I don't predict politics anymore because I have no idea what they're going to do. I facetiously predicted, just jokingly predicted a couple, maybe a year ago that, it could be the script could call for Trump to be elected from prison. And maybe he'll serve out his entire term on Rikers Island. And they'll go like live from Rikers Island tonight.
Bro, that would be the best chaos ever.
Yeah. But I mean, it's looking like that's a possibility. Yeah. It's looking like that's a possibility. I mean, you can envision Trump like you could have like some of his inmates could be some of his cabinet. And he could be bragging about, they thought I was going to be a bitch, but I made them my bitch. You could see there's so many possibilities for it, But I don't know if they're going to go that way or not. But it wouldn't shock me.
Does the Secret Service follow him? Does the Secret Service follow him in jail? Right, that's part of the.
I don't. Who knows? I mean, and that it's got a built-in excuse for why he can't do anything this time either, because they can just say, well, the Democrats can pass a law saying, well, president serving in prison, he can't do this, he can't issue executive orders, can't do that, that kind of stuff. I mean, they could come up with a million, and that would be his excuse. Well, what do you want? He's in prison. What was he supposed to do? It's like last time he was under attack the entire time. What was he supposed to do?
Yeah,
and because that's what their excuses are. They try to explain why he didn't do anything. Well, I don't know. He could have issued some executive orders that he promised, but he didn't. But I don't know. It's disillusioning. That's why both sides are so bad. But I usually end up. Most people think I'm more of a Trump defender because the other side is just. Trump's an actor. I call him the Trumpenstein Project. I call the whole thing the Trumpenstein Project. But the other side is just batshit crazy. They're absolute lunatics.
Yeah, I mean they're just crazy. And when you go,
I can't.
Don, when you go back to the Trump assassination, dude, you see videos of the of law enforcement. They're just walking in circles. They're just doing this like weird pointing thing. They're just like, hey,
Sandy Hook.
Dude, yeah, it's like Grand Theft Auto NPCs, you know, just like,
Yeah.
hey, come over here, get it. What are you doing, guy? I mean, just, oh, it's so bizarre. Everything about
Nothing's
that is
getting
bizarre.
done. They're just walking in circles. I'm like, what
And
are
that's-
you doing there?
And that's what people back in the day, that's what they analyzed about at the Sandy Hook fire station. They were saying the same stuff then. What are these people? They started to analyze, what are the people doing? It's the same people walking around in a circle, saying, okay, what is the cowboy hero do? What are these people doing? If you actually watch it, and if you, and they don't, they don't count on most people, going into that much detail.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, it's like, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. Why is he doing that? So that's why I say, if you scratch the surface of any of these events, man, and I mean, the shooting they had today, I guess, in Georgia. I mean, I haven't looked at it yet at all, but I know if I spend any time on it, I'm quite sure if I looked at some witnesses talking and stuff, I would instantly become skeptical, just because it's just none of these things ever seem legitimate to me. And that's because we've been lied to about everything. So we're all jaded and we just automatically say, as I say, anything that happens, I just assume it's fake until proven otherwise. They have to prove it's real to me, and so far they haven't been able to do it.
Hey, Don, right now, I don't know if you've seen this, but this is on MSNBC News. And by the way, MSNBC News sucks when my girlfriend says she's starting to get over it. By the way, she should have been over it 5 years ago, but we gotta love them and help them cross over to the other side of not watching any of this. So we're not going to discuss that. The real discussion is, she said, I'm over MSNBC. And that you should be, because right now, breaking news from 8 hours ago, Biden administration to hit Russia with sanctions for trying to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of election. I mean, they think we're stupid.
Yeah, it is. And I don't, again, I don't.
Oh, I just saw it. Yep. I just saw the article. That's crazy.
Yeah, I saw that too. And it's the problem is that Trump, I call it the Trumpenstein Project. And I think he was injected in there to divide the country. And I think it was to kill all independent political movement. And he has destroyed all third parties. There's no hope of a third party because nobody either wants to have a chance of him being elected or have him not be elected, depending whether you love or hate him. But the problem is when you have something like this, where he's so divisive, and he's got probably 70 to 80 million people, I think, maybe support him still. I would guess they will vote for him again, probably something like that. All those people, they're the ones that we're talking to. They're the ones that are awake to varying degrees. They all support Trump, or they did support him. And you can't those people are forever awake, even though they may grow disillusioned with Trump and finally realize, okay, he's not legitimate, but they know the corruption's there. They can see how crazy the other side is. They're never going to believe that men can have babies. They're never going to believe the transgender nonsense. They're just not going to believe it. So how do you put that genie back in the bottle? You can't do it. You can't put 70 to 80 million people. You're never going to get them to forget this stuff. And this is where we are now. What happens? And I've been asking that question for a long time. What happens after Trump? What happens? There's nobody on the horizon that has the personality that people will rally. And the other side is so committed to hating Trump. I guess they'll just transfer that derangement syndrome to whatever person comes up next and says anything like him and says bad things about them. But there's a tipping point there, and the 70, 80 million people have to have reached the tipping point. I mean, they can't possibly trust that there's going to be an honest election after the last two elections. They know there's not going to be, but they still kind of naively think he's going to win big and stuff. And if he does, it's because they want him to win. But I don't know. I have no idea what they're planning to do, but I do know the only reason they would put Trump back in is because the other side is absolutely crazy and they want it to go down. They want it to burn. They want the cities to burn. Because if Trump got back, unless, like I said, maybe if my prediction is he's in prison, I'm not sure how they would react. Maybe they'd think it was funny or something. I don't know. But if he goes legitimately back in the White House, the city's going to burn. It's going to make the summer of 2020 look like a cakewalk. And that apparently is what they want. I don't understand why they want it to collapse. But
and you think that would be
the consolidated power they have?
That would be more chaotic than Harris winning, you think?
Well, yeah, because
I could
I
see the
don't
same thing
think
happening
again.
if Harris won.
Well, but I don't think there's any indication that the other side would ever do that. I mean, the only the massive protests I've seen that I know of since the Civil War draft riots, maybe in the 1860s, and you wouldn't even consider that right wing or anything, but all riots or all protests really, going back to the Vietnam War and all the counterculture, the anti-war protests, even for the Gulf War originally until Obama became president, but all of those were from the left.
You just don't think there's I could just see people viewing that as because to me, it would have to be fixed for her to win. But obviously fixed, in a way that we haven't seen even with Biden.
Well, you would
I
think
that would be the line. That would be just the last straw for so many people. I feel anyway. I don't know.
Well, you would think, but the problem is that most of those people remember January 6th. They saw what happened. And again, January 6th was the largest protest we've seen from the right wing ever, I think. I don't know if there were a million people that were close to it, but we saw what happened with the reaction was. I mean, it was draconian response like none ever seen before. I mean, the damage done that day was nothing compared to every, riot of the 1960s or anything like that, let alone the Antifa and BLM riots. But the response was so over the top that you would have to have, tens of millions. Now, if they did that, then you have a whole other thing altogether. But I just don't see. I think they're gun shy and I don't blame them. I don't want to go Enrico Tarrio, the Hispanic leader of the white supremacist Proud Boys. It's a strange way to run a white supremocist organization, right? To pick a Hispanic to lead you. But he got 22 years and he wasn't even in Washington, D.C. People don't,
they just
I
don't
think
care.
people know that stuff.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
They don't know that.
If maybe you're right. Maybe the other side will go up, but I just think that it's treated because the left has a foundation that controls that, whether it's George Soros or any of these other people. So when you had the BLM and Antifa riots going, you had bricks being delivered in wheelbarrows to spots. I mean, somebody put them there, and you had BLM, and this is Black Lives Matter. They had big vans like like United Van Lines or something with BLM the logo on the side. Who paid for that? It was organized. It was there. Everything was there. The structure was there. The right doesn't have anything like that. You think they're going to see some Proud vans or anything like that? So I don't know who would. There's nothing like the Antifa or Black Lives Matter on the right. Proud Boys was like a shell of that, and most of them are in prison now, I guess. So I don't know who would the KKK. I mean, there's nobody on the right I can't see anybody organizing something like that too. It would have to be a real organic grassroots effort, and I just we used to, a bunch of us used to try going back to the 90s even where once the internet was formed. One of the easiest ways you could have to make a statement to the powers that be, people used to try to send out mass emails to people saying, "Hey, don't buy gas next Thursday."
Yeah.
Risk free. I mean, then they can't come after you and arrest you for not buying gas on a particular day. Couldn't get people to do that. It would have made a statement. It would have made a statement that, hey, we can do this. And then you could have gone from there and say, hey, look, nobody go to a restaurant today. Nobody go to a grocery store today. Just make, and then eventually you go from that to let's have what we've talked about, a worker strike. We're not going to work today. That's how you get their attention, but you can't get people to come together. And that's why when you see something like the left coming together, it's because they've got organizers there. They've got a bunch of government undercover agents. And so when they have their riots, they have somebody there to direct them. We know that, for instance, in the summer of 2020, they had the guy in film. The first guy to throw a brick through a window was a cop, an off-duty cop. He went after him and said, "Hey, you know what? Why are you an off? How come you threw a brick through a window? You tried to? I mean, nobody did that because they don't want to know. Much as they, you see today, the Democrats go crazy. Merrick Garland, people like that go nuts if there's any indication about the FBI or anybody, being involved. And what is it? I think they had, I don't know how many people they claim that had the FBI. They know they had FBI people inside the Capitol dressed up as Trump people, pretending to be Trump. They know that, but they go nuts if you even admit it. So this is, I don't know. You'd have to circumvent all that to have a, but maybe, at some point you think people are going to reach a tipping point, and it's something like a Kamala Harris presidency might do that because it is an insult to anyone's intelligence, when you listen to her talk and everything and
Demoralizing.
think that, but you can't underestimate the hatred people have for Trump.
It's crazy.
I've said before, it's like people would like, no, it is. And if people underestimate what Trump derangement syndrome is, so many of my friends from the JFK research community and stuff, people that loved my early books and interviewed me, wrote reviews. I mean, they canceled me, man, because I supported Trump in 2016 and said some good things about it. I've defended him off and on just because I think that I don't think because these people, because they hate Trump so much, they like George W. Bush now. They think he's a great guy. They used to hate him. I say, wait, why just so I say if Hitler was around today, as much as they hate Hitler, if Hitler ran against Trump, I think those people would vote. They vote for Hitler. They would because they hate Trump more than any human being has ever been hated. I've never seen anything like it. And so I'm a Trump agnostic. We're the smallest minority group in the world, and there's not very many of us around. But I don't. As long as he's in the middle, and he's in the middle of our politics, you can't predict anything that's going to happen because it all revolves around him and a terrible candidate like Kamala Harris who can't put. But Joe Biden didn't know where he was, so is she any worse than him? I don't know. So people are going to vote for anybody that runs against Trump. It's going to come down to, are there more people with Trump derangement syndrome than support it?
There's a lot of closeted Trump. There's a lot of closeted Trumpers coming out though. A lot of people that last election didn't come out. A lot of older people they're just fed up. They're like, okay, and I was like, were you closeted before? He's like, yeah, but now I just gotta let people know.
Well, I mean, I don't. I would think he could still win it because he's got a lot more support for black males, especially. There's a lot and Hispanics too, but they're males. But again, it's mostly males because Trump is. People don't understand. Again, I'm not a misogynist, but it's been shown that if you just took the male vote, every state would be red. I mean, what does that say about what the gender gap is in voting? Yeah. And so every state, even California. I mean, you look at that, it's like, how is that even possible? But it's people, and they don't talk about it enough because if you do, then it's considered somehow hatred against women. It's just reality. It is, and I've never understood. Like I said, I don't understand how, if you're married to someone, what is the point of voting if you're going to vote for different candidates? You're canceling each other's votes out. Why bother? Why are you going to wait in line for that? It's just stupid. But apparently, there's a lot of married couples that do that. I don't know. I don't know if I could be married to someone that would not, especially when you have the division now, because the woke Democrats are so insane, and that. I don't know if I could be married to somebody that had that kind of different view on things. That wasn't sure. They thought there were 57 genders there, but that's the gap we have now. So I don't know, man. I wouldn't make a prediction. Like I said, for all I know, they'll bring Hillary Clinton in at the last moment and install her as the president.
Damn.
Well, Don, as always, this was a great conversation. We love talking to you. Guess what? I just bought your book. So at least you got one sale out of this. I'm looking forward to it. One more time, Don, tell them where they can find you and find your books.
Well, at Don Jeffries on X and Donald Jeffries at Substack.com. I Protest is what it's called on Substack. It's the only place I'm not being shadow banned. American Memory will have the court historians promote disinformation with a foreword by the great SamTripoli. He wrote the foreword, and that can be found anywhere. I mean, they're not banning that like they did Mask of the Truth. So you can get it at Amazon, Barnes and Noble. And I mean, I tell people, I don't care where you buy it. Get the best deal because they give the authors so little in terms of royalties that it doesn't matter. We have to sell an awful lot of copies. So if we can do that, that's fine. But wherever, just get the best deal. And I'll suggest it to your libraries. That's fine too.
Well, Don, as always, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on, and let's break down this episode. All right, what do you guys think, Xavier?
Well, I think I'm coming in hot. Actually, he's coming in hot. I didn't expect him. to going on what? Why do you always laugh before I say something? Come and give me some credit. No, I was just saying.
I am giving you a ton of credit.
No, I was just saying. I'm surprised he comes in for someone who's done it for so long. He understands why flat Earth is flat Earth because you just can't believe everything. The assassination might be fake. The fake ear. Think that's not. I think it's a fake ear. It's a new ear, not his ear. Never got shot.
Wait,
I
you
don't
think
know.
it's a fake ear?
You think it's a brand new ear or he
Wait,
didn't
so
get shot?
he
That's why I'm
did get
laughing. Which
shot.
one do
He
you
did
think?
get shot, and then instead of showing the scar, they replaced his ear with a fake ear. That's what you think?
Could be prosthetic. I don't know. All I know is I'm questioning it. Did it get shot? Did it not get shot? What do you think?
Yo, I question everything, Punto.
He's like an engagement. He's like an engagement calculator. You know, he's just like everything ends with the question. What do you guys? It's like from working on Instagram so long. Actually,
No, it's like those Twitter accounts that are just trying to get clicks and views.
Yeah.
What do you knows about this video? And you're like, it doesn't tell you.
I
what
do that a lot.
What do you think?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Johnny Woodward knows I do that a lot with tinfoil hat. The tinfoil hat IG. I like. What do you think? Comment, question.
Yeah, he'll post like the wackest video, like the fakest shit, and then he'll be like, "Hey, I don't know, man. You check it out. What do you think?"
I think Don Jeffries is the perfect guy to talk to because he's been so long in the game. He's so deep into the game that he's seen so much. That he has so much experience to pull from, and then on top of that, he does really great research into each basically statement he makes. There's deep research into that thought. So it's like even stuff when we get deep into was Hitler controlled opposition, right? Like he's done the research. And that's why I really love talking to him. And there's so many people that don't do the research, and it's always fun to talk to literate people. Now, I don't know if Don's mad that I got AI to clean up my what's it called, the preface?
Preface, yeah, or the forward.
Yeah, the forward. I'm just trying to make it sound smart in a book that's smart. You don't want to open up with me Hulk smash and then expect them to read the rest of your book. If anyone reads the preface and it's grammatically retarded, are you going to read the rest of the book?
Nope. I can't even read the first.
He's not mad at me. I'm trying to present myself in the best possible way.
So funny.
How
did he find it? I mean, is he listening to the show? How did he find out about it?
Somebody must have either cut it up and sent it to him.
That's so funny.
But I don't care, dude.
I bet it was Mark. I bet it was Mark. Don't you think? It's probably Mark. Mark.
Come on, Johnny. Don't start more internal
No,
fighting.
I'm
going to have HR call you. If I had an HR, I'd have them call you.
Mark,
please don't gossip about other people on the team.
HR would have already had to email all of us over something Johnny said to Mark.
Hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm just asking the question. What do you?
What do you guys think?
What do you?
Could it have been Mark? Thoughts? Dude,
like for yes, comment for no.
That stuff, like, so we have a real discussion about Japanese camps in America, but correct me if I'm wrong. He said there were German camps, right?
And Italian.
And Italian, yeah.
How come Italians don't even talk about that?
Yeah, you're like, man, I could have gotten in on some oppression. I didn't know.
Where's my reparations?
Thought you were black, Sam.
I am. I just found out. Yeah, my grandmother was 100% Sicilian.
You get so much reparations, it's unfair.
It's unbelievable.
You get all of them.
It's unbelievable. Which means I'm 12% black, dog.
Which, speaking of reparations, did you see a lot of people were pissed off that they kind of shot it down in California.
Oh, I just love it.
Signs like, give me my money.
Yeah. I mean, and dude, if you even had a chance, let's say, to get like whatever number they're throwing out, what do you think that number is per person?
I don't even know.
Let's just say, let's throw out crazy $5 million.
No, I
can't imagine it's that much.
I don't think anybody would be happy under 10 grand. I think if you're going to give it to them, they'd want 10 grand or 5 grand.
For sure. But let's just say the number is like 250,000, right? How many signs would you be making? How many protests would you be showing up? And then you'd be using this thing where you ask for way more money because you know you're happy with way less, but you want them to be scared with the way. Be like, when if you put in inflation today, my people deserve
$80 billion.
$20 million.
Okay, it
Will
says
you take a
let's
mill?
see. Hold on.
Okay.
Behind the math.
I'll take it.
1.2 million for reparations payouts is what they were at.
Dude.
Divided by who? Divided by how many though?
No,
each person.
Per person.
Each person.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. Like,
by the way, dude, there's a good
30
chance we're going to see Xavier Guerrero try to get that $150,000 for a house. Make no doubts about it.
I will be owning a house before Johnny Woodward. Let me tell you this right now.
Do you ever think about that? So that was $150,000, and if you actually did the math on how that worked, they could buy like $1 million house. They would pay you $150,000 to go toward almost $1 million.
Yeah, down.
But here's the craziest thing, Johnny. I saw a video where it says they don't have to make a payment on it until they sell the house.
Until they sell the house?
Will you look that up?
I see. So they just make the down payment. They don't have to contribute at all.
No, they don't make the down payment. They take the money from the government and hand it to the bank.
Down payment. Yeah.
Can you explain for the Mexican over here?
No, for the guy who's going to abuse the system.
Yeah, about your tweet that went viral. It went. My homies were retweeting it. They were sending it to me like, look what you're doing to the country. So can you let everybody know what technically means, like when they can't pay for it, what will happen?
Well, basically what happens is the government is going to print $150,000. They're going to.
Well, this is the state though, so they can't print money. This is California.
No, but each fucking state has their own Federal Reserve.
Right, but they're not. That's the federal. They're not printing the money, right?
Well, I mean, where's the money come from, Johnny?
I mean, I assume it's debt. It's debt, state debt.
Whatever it is, it's fake money.
Yeah, it's fake federal. I mean, they're not printing more money though.
Within the system is Federal Reserve, whether it's a state Federal Reserve. See if there's a California Federal Reserve, Johnny.
Well, there is a Federal Reserve office in California, certainly,
okay.
like a mint or something.
So,
but that's not. It's not run by the state government.
150,000 fake dollars.
No, it's tax. That would be taxpayer money that would go.
It's not. It's fake money.
It would, no, that's that you're thinking of federal stuff. This is state. It's not. They can't make. They don't have the power to print money.
But Johnny, the money isn't real. It's not real money.
Right, because it's
fake money.
Because it's U.S. currency, but it's not. No individual states have power to print money.
Johnny,
I just Googled that, by the way.
Real. It's all of it's printed bullshit.
Yeah, but you're saying California is printing this money and they're not.
I'm saying the money is being printed out of nowhere. It's not real money.
So let's say we're playing Monopoly. In this situation, the federal government is the banker, and then one of the players is California. So the money has some use for them in that they can give it to people and buy things.
But it's not real money. That's the whole thing.
None of it's
That's
real.
how you game the system.
Money.
That's how you can fucking bribe everybody. Now, I've heard more information since this tweet went out that makes me think this is even worse. That now they're just giving them the down payment and the banks are going to pay off the whole thing and they don't have to pay it off until it's been sold, which is complete and utter bullshit. Like the most insane bullshit I've ever heard in my life.
All right, sorry, I'm trying to find the math on this because there was some crazy stat about how much the house could be if you actually did the math on it.
And just think about what that's going to do to property value.
And listen to this. There are income levels that must be below a certain income, but the range is 100,000 to 300,000 depending on the county. So you could be making 300 grand a year and get as an undocumented. What
undocumented person's making 300 grand a year?
It doesn't make any sense. It says participants must be first-time home buyers and at least one borrower must be a first-generation home buyer. Their income levels must be below certain income thresholds depending on the county, which ranges from 100 grand to 300 grand.
I'm telling you, bro, it's fucking nuts.
How many hours on minimum wage do you have to work to make 100 grand a year?
How much fucking bacon hot dogs do you have to sell before you can pay off $1 million house?
Hey man,
Hey, dude, those hot dogs are like $10.
They're
fam. It's
fire.
not that
They're
many.
fire, and you're gonna shit fire. Okay. But it's just a giant demoralization campaign. Pressure from above, pressure from below. You are in a giant demoralization. And my question has to be, how does Gavin Newsom run on this after that?
But doesn't this help the right? Because doesn't this piss off every citizen? Shouldn't every citizen be pissed off about this? Every citizen that doesn't own a house, which is like most of LA, shouldn't they be pissed that there's someone else who's going to own a house before them? So I don't understand how this helps the left.
This doesn't help the left. It's meant to demoralize people.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's meant to piss off the citizens, and that's every fucking person.
And it's basically, again, they want a feudal system here. This fits right into this feudal system. You allow serfs to own houses. Regular people can't afford that house. They have to move out of the state. Now you have the super rich and the super poor. And then you're destroying people's house, the value of their house. Imagine if you just bought a house, okay?
Damn, you're right.
You just bought a house. And then the person next to you just has to pay $150,000 for that house. And then 90 people move in there. I mean, dude, the fact that they don't have to pay it back is the most insulting fucking shit I've ever heard in my life, if that's true. I don't know what stops California from doing this. I don't know what stops it.
Would you want to look at the application before I turn it in?
Yeah, please do.
What do you mean? What stop? I don't understand quite what you're saying. What you don't know how? What stops California from doing this? What does that mean?
What stops them from the state from doing this and destroying people's property value? Who's gonna stop it?
No, yeah, no. I mean, if it gets passed, nobody's gonna stop it. It doesn't, man.
Can't wait up. I don't know. Johnny would know this. Can't like the Constitution or Congress stop it? Can't they be like, this isn't all right?
I mean,
like
they would be the ones passing it. Newsom could veto it if he. I can't imagine he would, right?
No, he's the one pushing it.
Yeah, so I don't let's see. Okay, I don't know actually who proposed it. Let's see. A new bill. Yeah, it's in the legislature. It's called the California Dream for All program. Yeah. So it's in the legislature right now. I haven't seen.
But you guys, real quick. So this, so stay tuned for that dog shit. Real quick. So this new thing's coming about Tenet Media and Lauren Chen and her husband. Lauren Chen is so hot. It's like, if you want to get, like, if I hear another woman talk about how hard it is to work in a patriarchy, just go look at any YouTube thumbnail that has a hot chick in it. They have a bazillion views. And like Lauren Chen and her husband created Tenet Media, and now it's starting to come out that they may have taken money from let me read this. Unsealed. A federal indictment unsealed on Wednesday alleges that Tennessee-based media company, which plays home to several prominent right-leaning online commentators, was secretly a Russian government-backed influence operation. The company is accused of receiving nearly $10 million from employees of Russian RT, a Russian state. Oh, this is so hilarious, dude. A Russian state. Dude, this is so insane. This is so insane. So
the money was from Russia Today, RT?
Yeah.
It's funny because RT does great journalism as long as it's not about Russia. Everything else, their journalism is great. But if it's about Russia, it's not good.
It's so stupid, dude. This is so dumb. I mean, I think most of these guys are controlled opposition.
But I mean,
at the highest level, I don't think it's Russia, though.
This Tenet Media has worked with a lot of people like Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, Lawrence Southern.
Yeah. Are they still working with them?
No, I don't. It doesn't say.
What a great way to destroy somebody's brand is by approaching them with money and then turning out it's like, damn, dude, that's kind of crazy.
It's brilliant. It's like Littlefinger shit, right? All the behind the scenes is like Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. It's just all these people working at like 3D chess, 8 moves down, where you're not even seeing it until you already.
It's crazy to me. It's crazy.
Anyway, that was a good episode.
All right, guys, go to SamTripoli.com. check out all of what we got going on there. The website. Oh, by the way, fun fact. Go down, 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 go down. Keep going down.
That's what she said.
Stop. Go up. I don't know what's going on. Nope, Nuke Social. I don't know what's going on, but my website guys told me people are going to Nuke Social. It's basically my decentralized social media, Nuked Social, and it's supposedly crushing. So,
Nice.
yeah, the website, the videos get over 5,000 views, which is insane to me, because you look at like the same videos on YouTube and they get maybe 3 times, 4 times more views. I mean, on an insane juggernaut platform that has all the viewers.
Ridiculous.
Right? Like,
That's crazy.
I don't know where I'm going to put out my I don't know where I'm going to put out my special. Like, it is literally a waste of time to put it on YouTube.
I think at the end,
My anti-rape joke again itself is going to get me in trouble.
I wouldn't put that on the main channel. Yeah.
Yeah, I would. I know that would go on. I think I'm going to put it on the comedy of SamTripoli, or I might have somebody edit out that joke and do a lot of beeps. And if you want to see the uncensored version, you gotta go to SamTripoli.com or Rumble or
smart.
Twitter, wherever they let me talk mad shit. But even Twitter probably won't let me talk all the shit.
Instead of beeping it out, you know what you could do is put that static TV and put the static noise where like basically the signal went out, old school style, and send them to there.
I'm gonna have to get the files and somebody edit them.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep. Anyways, go to SamTripoli.com. All my videos are there of all my shows. My premium content, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. Sam Tripoli premium content has been fired. I haven't done any this week because I was there with my kids, my mom, Dana. We were back in the homeland of upstate New York with the kids. It was great. You'll hear more about it on Broken Simulation. But all the premium content, we're gonna start banging out some more this week. Go check that out. It's doing really great. If you go down to Cash Daddies, patreon.com/Cash Daddies, we've had one of our best months last. Look at that. Everybody's banging. 240. My goal is to get up to 1,000 paid people. That's my goal on that one. $20 a month. You can see nothing but bangers, dude. Nothing but bangers. It's doing great. I'm very excited about that. Next up, go to my comedy, the Chaos Twins. Working on a new episode, a new issue, and then about to start talking to these guys about the animation. That's a big goal of mine. I want to get this thing rocking. Go down. T-shirts on fire, cameos on fire. All right, check out our affiliate programs. We got a lot of great stuff going on. If you go to Wise Wolf Gold and Silver, go to SamTripoli.com. You can join the Wolf Pack again for only $50 a month. Use the promo code TINFOIL. We also, as always, want you to check out copymycrypto.com/TFH. Join for as little as $1 and learn how to invest in the crypto market. Check out AquaCure Hydrogen Brown Gas. We love that. Rife Technologies. Get your body alignment is get it in order. Go check that out. Harley Ray. Okay. We love their crystals, their candles, their sage. Use the promo code SWARM15. Again, in between the shows, I recorded I went and had chemical free body. I used the promo code tinfoil hat. I take their supplements every day. Our good friend Joel Staley, get in shape. I'm going to get back into doing my fasting. I lost so much weight doing that. You can too. EMF rocks. Get grounded by nature. Use the promo code tinfoil. Prometheus, dude, my website is fire. I love it. Decentralized. Always decentralized. Not relying on any of these other platforms. I just do it myself. And then, of course, if you love Xavier Guerrero's very, 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 very smart questions, well, you can thank Brain Supreme for that. Microdosing, help you smarter, better, faster. Go to SamTrip15. Nuke Social, like I just said, is on fire. But if you want to join the TFH only Conspiracies Telegram, and then Zero. I'm gonna try to activate Zero again. I'm burnt out, but I'm gonna try. And then all my videos, all my audio there at SamTripoli.com. What do you guys want to promote?
Go to Extreme Marks the Spot on YouTube. I got a new vlog, fishing and something at Hard Summer. Go to Extreme Marks the Spot on YouTube.
Yeah, come see me on Twitter at Johnny Woodard. We talk about stuff on the show. People send me story suggestions for Broken Simulation, ask questions, get a lot of ideas from there. I appreciate it. So thank you.
Loving me, loving you, loving me. Great show. Enjoy these highlights. Let me change that. Can you fix that at the end, Johnny? Fuck.
What, do you not want to say that ridiculous thing? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I just want to say, okay, thank you. Enjoy these highlights.
3, 2.
All right, thank you, guys. Enjoy these highlights.
Here's a clip from the latest Broken Sim.
Johnny, I want Tim Dillon it on this show because my eyes are so small.
Oh, I thought you were going to turn gay. Okay.
No, I'm already gay. Well, I can't turn what's already gay. Is this too much?
Those are cool sunglasses, dude. What kind of sunglasses are
I
those?
just saw them on the internet and bought them.
They're really cool,
Because I've
bro.
been looking at my eyes when they clip this show. I'm so old.
You don't want those because they're really reflective, though. I'm seeing a lot of the studio.
I don't care.
Well, let me see how they look. Yeah, they look cool. I'll show you what you look
Am
like.
am I Tim Dilling it too
this
much?
This is what you look like. You tell me.
Is this too much, Tim Dillon?
There's infinite regress there.
I don't care. Is it too much?
You tell me. Look at yourself.
I'm gonna do it like this from now on because my eyes are so old. So
It's too bright in here. Is that what you're saying?
no, I just look at my when I watch the videos, I look so old.
Oh, you don't think you look good?
I think I look old.
Okay.
I mean, I am old, but my eyes
You're
look
not that
like
old.
I just think I look too serious sometimes. So I'm gonna go with the.
So you'd rather people not know what you look like than?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with this.
Why don't you
for
become a furry then? Just wear.
Oh, dude, Johnny, full circle.
We did it. We did the callback. The
Yes.
furries. Okay.
So hey, vote now. Vote hard. Should I
Okay.
wear the sunglasses or not?
We'll post it to Twitter.
Full disclosure. I've seen Tim Dillon do it. I've seen Cypress Hill do it during his podcast. I've seen a lot of people do it. I'm just going. I think I'm going to do it because I'm tired of the clips of my eyeballs looking like old.
That's such a weird thing to point out. So related to this, yeah, and again, huge flop there. They canceled The Acolyte, that Star Wars piece of shit. The finale was the lowest rated thing that they put out for Star Wars. Disney has. I mean, this was the woman who created the show cast her girlfriend as the big action lead. You know, the kind of the main badass Jedi person was her girlfriend, who's got no badass Jedi look about her at all. The movie, I mean, it was terrible. The whole fandom, you know, who's loyal and watched it, even if they were hate watching it, were against the thing. And you think about. I've heard this thing about people saying it was toxic fandom that got this show canceled. Disney don't give a fuck if people hate the show. They only care if people watch it, dude.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and even if you hate watched it, but people didn't even
counts.
want to hate watch it.
No, because it was that bad.
Because it was just people are over it, dude. It's just
Finally.
over it. So it's like even this movie that bombs, you know, I love everybody in it, but why do you have a chick as the lead, as the ass kicking lead, and then why do you have a Kevin Hart kicking ass in there when everyone knows he's like 5 foot nothing, and I love him, but it's like it's too much. People are over it. When it was just Angelina Jolie with her fat rack running around as a wave model we accepted it because she was the pinnacle of beauty at that point.
And it was unique. It was like
It was unique at that point. Never have we seen a hot wave model like that doing action here. Now it's like every chick is 100 pounds beating the shit out of everybody.
So
and
dumb.
we're over
Dude, and it just looks dumb on the screen.
It
dude.
just looks dumb. It's like nobody needs it anymore. And it's like here's the biggest problem. You can do it with television, Johnny. You can do it with TV. You can 100% do it with TV.
Do what? Have a wave model kicking the shit out of him?
Have some woke shit.
Yeah.
Because people are just flipping around. Movies, people got to get in their car, drive to the movie theater, and purchase what is anywhere, depending on where you live. We're in New York, in North Carolina. What's the price of a movie now?
North Carolina?
Yeah, North Carolina.
It's probably $20, less than 20, 18 maybe.
So we'll say
it's a lot cheaper than here, though.
Yeah, I mean, like here
maybe
you pay,
I'd say 15 to 20.
Let's say $15.
Yeah.
Right here, it's $22.
Oh, dude, I mean, I just bought a ticket that was 25 to, I think it was 27.50 for like the big new movie that's coming out this week, and it's not even 3D or anything. It's 27.50.
Yeah, it's too much. That's why nobody's going to the movies, because it's too much. You're charging us too much. And what the movie industry is learning is what happened to the music industry when they got lazy. And that was, there was a time where you buy a CD for $18 and there would be 2 good songs on there.
Yeah.
The rest filler for the songs would just be voicemail messages.
Yeah. That's what Eminem used to do. He would put, those Ken Kniff sketches on there.
Biggie, wake up. We got to go to Kelly. Wake up. Kelly? Yeah, we got to go to Kelly. And then that was a good one, which led into, going back to, like, it was like, whatever that song was.
No, I know what you're talking about.
So it's like, but then Jay-Z was just doing fucking voicemail messages left and right. Biggie, we're going to
love that in hip hop.
Yeah, they loved it. And it's just like, there's 17 songs. There's 2 good songs in this dog shit.
Beastie Boys did it too.
And that's why everyone started going down. You remember we would buy songs back in the day? Now we don't even buy songs, and we just listen to them.
Yeah, iTunes took them down.
Yeah. I mean,
you sent me that also entertainment. It's just like something out of a dream.
Dude, is that real?
It is. It's not, I mean, it's
so,
Deadline, dude.
Amazon
MGM has set Nicolas Cage to play John Madden in a David O. Russell, a legit, like a great director.
We go deep, homeboy. Aaron, open your mind. Drink from the fountain of knowledge. There's lizard people everywhere. That's some interdimensional shit. Wake up, Aaron.
This is only the beginning.
Dude, you just blew my mind.
Tinfoil hack.